Can you all hear me? Can you all listen to me? All of you?
Yes, sir.
Excellent, excellent. So we'll not wait for we'll wait slowly. We'll get into some of the current topic, and then we'll go for continuing with the topic that we stopped yesterday. So one of the current topic that I wanted to discuss was you might have seen recently in the newspaper that the United States of America became the 101st member country in the International Solar Alliance. I don't know how many people have actually gone through that thing. This International Solar Alliance is a very important institution that has been actually set up in the year 2015. So, but the most recent update on it was, United States of the join. See, ISA, like International Solar Alliance, and very important significance in the this has been spearheaded by our country. It was started in the year 2015. It started during the Conference of Parties of 21st. We discuss the COP 21st in the Samayatha started the institution. The International Solar Alliance in the significance and it's a very clear significance. It has a clear mandate. A mandate it's an alliance of all those nations which are coming between the tropical area, the tropics. Tropics is the Tropic of Cancer. 23.5 degrees degree to the north of the equator, and then Tropic of Capricorn, 23.5 degree to the south of the equator. So these total areas, which covers all those nations, you can understand what does it actually mean by solar alliance significance. It's about tapping the solar power that is available. Tropical region advantage the tropical region has got the abundance of sunlight. High level of sunlight available at tropical area. Sun heavy sunlight heavy at tropical region. So International Solar Alliance in there clear mandate in the bring in an alliance of all those nations which are located between the tropics, the Tropic of Capricorn and Tropic of Cancer. And the idea is that this alliance should actually be a collaboration that should work towards tapping this solar power in a very different way. They wanted more of a collaboration in having more technology which can actually optimize the methods in creating solar power. Many of the nations, Tropic of Capricorn, Cancer nations, you can go to the American region, some of the African countries, Asian nations. They may not be technically very competent. They may not be technically very capable for bringing in more technology or experimenting on more technology or to look into something else. And everyone knows that the prominence of solar power is that it is one of the most important things that can actually reduce the dependence of the world on fossil fuels. It's a renewable source of energy. And there is a high chance that, the more amount of time that you can invest upon creating methods to devise, technology that can actually come out with the better optimization in creating solar power or, tapping the solar power that is available, that would be able to help many of the nations to reduce their dependence on the fossil fuels. Usually, I don't know whether you have gone through NAPCC. There was a beautiful program that was started by Government of India in 2008, known as National Action Plan for Climate Change. All of you are okay? My pace is okay? My speed is fine? All of you?
Fine, sir.
Yes, very good. So there was this National Action Plan for Climate Change that began in 2008. That's 8 different missions started. Missions so climate change counter what are the different steps that we can take? That's basically program National Action Plan for Climate Change. That's missions. That's serious overturn, but still NAPCC concept still remains. So the missions National Water Mission, National Solar Mission. National Solar Mission was then titled as Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Mission. First phase began in 2011 to 20. It was the first phase. But you know that after the government changes happened, everything has changed. The targets have changed, the names have changed. And so what actually happened was that even though the names have been changed or whatever we speak about it, some of the missions looked very promising, like a national water mission, how you would optimally use the water, and how this water security, if you speak about it, how it would be made maintained. Or you speak about a national mission for enhanced energy efficiency. അത് നിങ്ങൾ അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കൂടുതൽ അറിയാൻ പറ്റും, കാരണം നിങ്ങൾ ഇപ്പൊ എപ്പോഴും കണ്ടോണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നതാണ്. ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ഇപ്പം ഈ നിങ്ങൾ വാഷിംഗ് മെഷീനോ ഫ്രിഡ്ജ് ഒക്കെ മേടിക്കുമ്പോൾ ആണെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാവും സ്റ്റാർ റേറ്റിംഗ് കൊടുക്കാറുണ്ട്. സ്റ്റാർ റേറ്റിംഗ് AC ഒക്കെ മേടിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഈ സ്റ്റാർ റേറ്റിംഗ് എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്നത് അതിന്റെ എനർജി എഫിഷ്യൻസിയാണ്. സോ അത് വരുന്നത് നാഷണൽ മിഷൻ ഫോർ എൻഹാൻസ്ഡ് എനർജി എഫിഷ്യൻസി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ മിഷന്റെ ഇടയിൽ വരുന്നതാണ്. അതുപോലെ നാഷണൽ മിഷൻ ഫോർ സസ്റ്റൈനബിൾ ഹാബിറ്റാറ്റ്, നാഷണൽ മിഷൻ ഫോർ സസ്റ്റൈനബിൾ അഗ്രികൾച്ചർ, നാഷണൽ മിഷൻ ഫോർ ഹിമാലയൻ എക്കോസിസ്റ്റം, ഇങ്ങനെ all these missions, they all have the significance of how we can work towards reducing the impact that happens on the climate change. അങ്ങനെ നമ്മുടെ ഇന്ത്യയുടെ ഒരു ഇനീഷ്യേറ്റീവ് ആയിരുന്നു നാഷണൽ ആക്ഷൻ പ്ലാൻ ഫോർ ദ ക്ലൈമറ്റ് ചേഞ്ച്. സോ വാട്ട് ഐ വാസ് സ്പീക്കിംഗ് വാസ് ദാറ്റ് one of the mission which we discussed now, which is the national solar mission, this had actually come out to be one of the most important one, and that is the main reason we still continue with the mission, with giving higher targets. I think the most recent one, according to Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, it was all about how we can go on to achieve around 175 gigawatts of electric but solar power by 2023. 2023 gigawatts of electric power through solar power, tapping the solar power. So we have initiated a lot of program. Now you might have heard about the rooftop solar power panels, or you speak about the lake top solar panels. Now there have been a lot of initiatives taken by the various industries, institutions. Or you speak about the Cochin airport running on completely on the solar power. So all these institutes, they are all giving a lot of priority into bringing out the idea a successful one. So that is something that you should be keeping in your mind. So what we were speaking just now was about the International Solar Alliance. So once more, you need to understand what is it. So this was an institution formed, or an alliance formed in the year 2015. It happened under the aegis of UNFCCC during the time of Conference of Parties of 21. 21ാമത്തെ കോൺഫറൻസ് ഓഫ് പാർട്ടിയുടെ സമയത്ത് UNFCCയുടെ കോൺട്രാക്ടിംഗ് പാർട്ടീസിന്റെ അവരുടെ 21ാമത്തെ കോൺഫറൻസ് ഓഫ് പാർട്ടിയുടെ സമയത്താണ് ഈ ഒരു ഐഡിയ വരുന്നത്. This was actually spearheaded by the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, along with Francois Hollande, the then President of France. The idea was to bring in all those nations in the tropical region to come together to form an alliance, so that they can work together. They can find out more ways in order to optimally tap the solar power, which is abundantly available in the tropical region. So this was the idea about it. And the most recent news about was that the number of countries getting partnered into the program, like United States of America, even countries outside the tropical region are also coming in. So don't think it is only the countries within the tropical region. So they are all coming in. I think there is also a university. I think there is a Solar Alliance in there. University is also that's also going to be. I think it's being set up in Noida. So അങ്ങനെ നല്ലൊരു പ്രോമിസിംഗ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു very important ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ന്യൂസ് ആണത്. So you can keep that in your mind, because that could be coming. You will be meeting it again and again. So you will be seeing this topic again and again during your next years of preparation. So I'll tell you that you can go through them again. So that's one of the current thing. So around 60 people have joined. So we are continuing with where we stopped yesterday. So yesterday what we did was that we were speaking a lot of current topics that were being discussed. And then we also went on to discuss about, pollution aspects. We started with some of the very important aspects about pollution. We spoke about the movements of the pollutants. We spoke about biomagnification. We spoke about the bioaccumulation. And also we spoke about the aspect of movement of nutrients known as the, we spoke about eutrophication. We spoke about the categories under it, the natural eutrophication and the cultural eutrophication. And then we went on to discuss about the brominated fire retardants. So I also spoke about why it's an important matter of discussion. And when you speak about, somebody has been mentioning about the sea pollution. So I thought that we'll try to take a sentence on that one too, because recently there have been a number of NGOs who have been working towards removing the sea waste. So it would be, if you speak about million tons of sea waste that is being actually being removed from the major, usually it's happening in the marine borders. They say that the Indian Ocean region, it has been heavily packed with all these kind of plastic waste. You can find everything floating over. There's a most number of waste are usually the plastic bottles, water bottles, and these cool drink bottles, like the Coca-Cola bottles and all those kind of things. So what is going to happen is that, that how it is going to affect the animals which are living there. I think the broken nets. Just imagine the sea nets. അത് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതലായിട്ട് ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്ത ഒരു ഏരിയ തന്നെയാണ് ഈ ബ്രോക്കൺ ഫിഷിംഗ് നെറ്റ്സ്. ഈ പൊട്ടിപ്പോയ ഫിഷിംഗ് നെറ്റ്സ് ഒക്കെ അവരങ്ങനെ എടുത്തെറിഞ്ഞ് കളയും കടലിലോട്ട്. And then what happened? The animals get trapped and they die. I think there have been recently discussion about the sea cow. Sea cow എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ അറിയാലോ അല്ലെ, ഡുഗോങ് കൗ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് sea cowനെ കുറിച്ചൊരു ഡിസ്കഷൻ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. One of the reason for the threat, one of the threat that it faces, sea cow, ഈ കടൽ പശു എന്ന് വിളിക്കും, ഡുഗോങ് കൗ എന്നാണ് പറയുന്നത്, which is actually protected under the Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Am I okay with all the explanation? Am I going a little high? Are you all okay? Are you all getting? Are you all following me? All of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes എന്നൊക്കെ പറയാം. So too much അല്ല, പക്ഷേ ഇടയ്ക്ക്, because I feel like I'm just going on talking and no response is coming. So you can add on something, because you people are good enough experience to ask questions also now. I don't think that you people have least of it. Almost 6 to 8 months of training has been completed. So I think you should be also able to ask questions, when I speak about it. For example, when I said about Wildlife Protection Act, you need to know what is the significance of Wildlife Protection Act. And when you speak about Wildlife Protection Act, there are some very important acts when you speak about environment and biodiversity. Environment and biodiversity topic padikkumbam, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ when you're preparing for it, there are some very important acts that you need to be very careful about it. I think something must have been already covered, like when you speak about Forest Conservation Act, FCA, or Indian Forest Act of 1927. That may not be much important, but still it is in effect. So few of the salient features must be studied. Or you speak about Forest Conservation Act of 1980, or you speak about Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, or Water Pollution Act of 1974, Water Pollution Cess Act of, there is a Water Pollution Cess Act of 1977. There is also Air Pollution Act of 1983. I think it's about 1983. And then you have got the Environment Protection Act of 1986. And there is also Hazardous Waste Management Rules of 1990. And then I think you can also continue to study some of the other recently amended rules and other kind of thing. Also, even though it is not very much important with respect to environment, there are acts like Forest Rights Act or PESA, Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act. ഇതൊക്കെ നിങ്ങൾ ഇതിന്റെയൊക്കെ salient features ഒന്ന് ഐഡന്റിഫൈ ചെയ്ത് വെക്കുന്നത് നല്ലതായിരിക്കും. See, when I go on talking it, you may feel like there are too many things to study. Don't worry about it. Usually people feel about it, but it's not like that. It's all about the basic salient features. And many of the things, I think by the time when you people start reading it, you will feel like you have already covered many of the things. So don't worry when I'm speaking about it. When I speak, ask you to study all those things. But it's important that if we can get the salient features, that can help you people to attend some of the questions which usually target these areas. Okay, so are you okay with it? Are you all fine with it? Whatever I'm saying, okay, all good. So I think you don't need to, it would be difficult for you people to remember every act and all those things, but just you can just keep in your mind, some of the things that I'm speaking about. Now we are coming into the ozone issues. Here, even though, see, nowadays we don't speak much about the ozone depleting substances. We are usually speaking about the global warming, chemicals with the global warming potential, or GWP and the global warming potential. Because we are speaking about the greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases. So you need to understand about the two protocols which are very important when you speak about greenhouse gases and the your ozone depleting substances. So Montreal Protocol, എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു എപ്പോഴും എല്ലാവരും കൺഫ്യൂസ് ആയിട്ട് മിസ്റ്റേക്ക് വരുന്ന ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ തന്നെയാണ്. ഇത് എപ്പോഴും വൺ വേർഡ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആയിട്ട് എക്സാമിൽ ചോദിക്കുന്നതാണ്. Which is the protocol that deals about the global warming potential, or the gases which have global warming potential, or in the other way. So അത് എപ്പോഴും ഒരു വൺ വേർഡ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആയിട്ട് ചോദിക്കുന്ന ആൾക്കാർ എപ്പോഴും റെഗുലർ ആയിട്ട് മിസ്റ്റേക്ക് വരുത്താൻ ചാൻസ് ഉള്ളതായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഏരിയ ആണ്. സോ ബി വെരി കെയർഫുൾ. It's a Montreal Protocol that deals about with these the ozone depleting substances. And when you നമ്മളാണെങ്കിലും ചെറുപ്പം മുതൽ കേൾക്കുന്ന ഒരു ടേം ആണ് ഇപ്പോൾ അല്ലേ, CFC, chlorofluorocarbon, എങ്ങനെയാണത് ഓസോണിനെ ഡിസ്ട്രോയ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, how it affects the ozone, O3. And we also discuss about you know how it has got a connection with the air conditioners and refrigerants. It's because it's all the coolant which actually produces coolants which produce these kind. These are all coolants which are used in air conditioners and refrigeration, all these activities. ഇതൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ ചെറുപ്പം മുതൽ നമ്മൾ കേട്ടിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു കാര്യമാണ്. And Kyoto Protocol 1997 that speaks about the greenhouse gases. So greenhouse gases എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് അതിന്റെ potential എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് global warming potential ആണ്. So the main idea about the global warming potential, you know, it actually traps the sunlight or the heat. Adine reflect cheyipikade adine trap cheyiyam. So these greenhouse gases have got that advantage of trapping this sunlight on the earth's surface, because of which what happens, it heats up the atmosphere. Adinane nammal ee greenhouse gases ennu parayunnathu. So just keep in mind the what you call two protocols. The first one we spoke about the Montreal Protocol, and second one we spoke about the Kyoto Protocol. So Montreal Protocol deals with the ozone depleting substances, and Kyoto Protocol deals with the what you call greenhouse gases. Now let's look into it. Just a few things, you know, that is just for information, because this would be something that another very important one, because we'll be slowly going up to what was the actual purpose of this Montreal Protocol and how it has actually been. Because it's also, you know, you just take it as the pollution itself, because these may not be aspects very directly, you know, connecting to pollution aspects of the atmosphere, but then still it's under that the same aspect I have tried to cover this one also. So CFC, that is actually used in refrigeration, refrigerants, like you call the air conditioners or you call it the refrigerator. ഇവിടെയൊക്കെയാണ് ഈ chlorofluorocarbon യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. A molecule of commonly used CFC has got a GHG of 10,600 of CO2. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അതിന്റെ ഗ്ലോബൽ ഗ്രീൻ ഹൗസ് ഗ്യാസ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതിന്റെ ഗ്ലോബൽ വാർമിംഗ് പൊട്ടൻഷ്യൽ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് somebody has got a question, I think. Sir, the second protocol, okay, Nandu Boni. Second protocol is the Kyoto Protocol. Kyoto, it's a city in Japan. Kyoto, Kyoto Protocol. Nandu, I hope you got it. It's Kyoto Protocol, Kyoto. It's a very, you know, very much you will listen about it, because you always, I think most recently they came out with the Kigali amendment to the Kyoto Protocol. I'll teach you about all these things. I'll get some time to get that in. Okay, you don't worry about it. Kyoto Protocol, keep the name in your mind. Remember the name, Kyoto Protocol. So here what actually happens is that you must understand that the CFC in refrigerants, which is used, you know, CFC means chlorofluorocarbon, that is used in refrigeration activities. A molecule of commonly used CFC12. Is CFC de nammal common aayittu use cheyidirunna mumbana ipo nammal nokkanda usually use cheyidondirunna CFC12 ennu parayunnathu, it has got a global warming potential that goes up to around 10,600 of times of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide adinte 10,600 times of global warming potential. So what actually happens is that we are speaking about the global warming potential. So there is a global warming potential, and at the same time what happens is that there is also what we call it as which means that it's very dangerous. It is also an ozone depleting substance, and at the same time it has got a high global warming potential, so which is very dangerous for the atmosphere. Now Montreal Protocol, they asked the developed countries to stop usage of CFC by 2010 and developing countries by 2020, and they have to move to HCFC, which means that the CFC have to be moved out, and by 2010 the developed countries, and 2020 the developing countries, they have to move to HCFC. HCFC stands for the hydrochlorofluorocarbon. So no ortho vechamade ee Montreal Protocol inde adithe idea ennu parayunnathu moving out of the CFC regime, we need to be moving from a CFC to HCFC, which is hydrochlorofluorocarbon. Now ഇവിടെ തന്നെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരു ചെറിയൊരു കാര്യം മനസ്സിലാവും. See, ഞാൻ ഇന്നലെ ഒരു കാര്യം നിങ്ങളോട് എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്തായിരുന്നു. What was the objection of Trump with respect to the Paris Climate Pact? ഈ പാരീസ് ക്ലൈമറ്റ് പാക്ട് ഒക്കെ വന്ന സമയത്ത് ട്രംപിന്റെ ഒബ്ജക്ഷൻ എന്താണെന്നുള്ളത് ഞാൻ ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്തായിരുന്നു. So here ഈ developed countries and developing countries എന്നുള്ള കൺസെപ്റ്റ് വരുമ്പോൾ, you know, countries like China and India. So you know what happened, you see that the you know if you speak about discriminated treatment, you just look at the treatment. Developed countries have got a very short time to move from CFC to HCFC, and the developing countries are given a long rope. They can actually further go by another 10 years to come back into or move into HCFC. So this is something that you must be keeping in your mind, which has become a question in many of the areas whenever our country stands in the international fora. Whenever we stand in any of the forum, we have this particular question about our that choice of getting a further a longer rope in every aspect under the name developing country. So this one you can keep in your mind once, because even you speak about the WTO, World Trade Organization. So all the negotiations that happen at the World Trade Organization also, there are occasions where India has been criticized for the stance that we take or the kind of activities that try to follow. So I think somebody will be teaching in the economic class and all those things. I don't want to go into that thing and all. Leave it. Now, when you speak about HCFC, the advantage is that its global warming potential is only 1,000 times of CO2 less than CFC. You understood it, which means that the global warming potential the ability to deplete the ozone, that also is less. It is less than CFC. So just to keep that in your mind, the HCFC has got an advantage of lesser global warming potential and also lesser capability of affecting the ozone. So this is something that was important when Montreal Protocol spoke about moving from CFC to HCFC. Now, HCFC to be phased out by 2020 by developed countries and froze production by 2004. So this was the next guideline that came. By 2020, HCFC have to be phased out. See, just imagine, developed countries have to phase out HCFC by 2020 and developing countries have to phase it out by 2030. Again, 10 years difference are being given. 2010 developed countries CFC and HCFC and 2020 HCFC they have to actually go to hydrofluorocarbon, which is HFC. They have to move to hydrofluorocarbon. The regime passes like this: from CFC to HCFC, HCFC to HFC, from HFC to HC. HC stands for hydrocarbon, which is considered to be the least affecting on the ozone layer. So that is how the movement had to be happening. So HCFC had to be phased out by 2020 by the developed country. HCFC HFC. They should have frozen the production by 2004, and developing countries have got another long rope again. They have got this 2030 and 2013 as the time for the phasing out completely and freezing production. That is to be done by 2013. HFCs must replace HCFC, which is high in global warming potential but does not deplete ozone 3. You see that thing. Now we are not going much into the global warming potential. We are looking at ozone 3, which is actually ozone O3, which is to be protected. And what we are looking at is that HFC has got even though it has got a higher global warming potential, it will not be actually affecting the ozone. So that is how the movement has to be expected. So see, ozone the major issue when you are speaking about it, the usage of these refrigerants. We speak about the chlorofluorocarbon, further hydrofluorocarbon, all these refrigerants which are used in refrigeration in the activities such as in air conditioners and fridges, which have got that ability of affecting the ozone layer. So now Montreal Protocol speaks about how to deal with the issue, and they have come out with how to move from CFC to HCFC and from SCFC to HFC, and now further we speak about from HFC we are speaking about moving into the hydrocarbon. So this is what we speak about the basic. You just need to understand what is actually happening. And it's not finished. We'll have another slide which speaks about. Now what is actually happening? The HFC equivalent of CO2 is rising in the atmosphere quickly. Now what is happening is that after moving into HFC, even though that the countries, the targets were given, but still the countries are moving into HFC very quickly. If you speak about the timelines, every country has moved even before the timelines. So now what is actually happening is that HFC equivalent in CO2 is rising in the atmosphere, which means that a CO2 equivalent the capability of HFC, even though it does not have so much of global warming potential, when it becomes too much in the atmosphere, it will be equivalent to CO2, which means that a higher level of HFC is actually being produced because of the too much of fridges, ACs, and all the other kind of activities. It is actually increasing in the atmosphere. By 2030, it could be so high. So by 2030, you can see that it is going to be beyond the control. So developed countries are promoting low global warming potential refrigerants. Hydrocarbon like propane and butane are the best. Now what is actually happening is that even though HFC, we are speaking about something which does not have any impact on ozone, but too much of HFC coming onto the atmosphere is creating more CO2 equivalent HFC, which means that maybe 1 kilo, let's take it a very simple example, like 10 kilo HFC could be equal to 1 kilo CO2. But HFC is going in such a level, for example, millions and millions of tons of HFC, that CO2 level, the equivalent level or equivalent impact that is actually caused by the HFC is going very high. So what is actually happening is that now the countries are again promoting few other things, which is further moving from the hydrofluorocarbon. One of the best examples could be the hydrocarbons like propane and butane, which are being used as refrigerants. Now, HFC 32 by Japan, which is a medium global warming potential, even though it is an HFC hydrofluorocarbon, the HFC 32, which is used by, mainly used by Japan, is a medium global warming potential one, which reduces or which has got a very less global warming potential. Otherwise, China with the propane based ACs, the ACs, hydrocarbons can be cheap, less harmful, non-toxic, but ammonia and being infrared, which means that hydrocarbons, that the presence of ammonia, and there is a chance of, hydrocarbons have got that chance of it being inflammable. So that is the barrier. It can be cheap, it's less harmful, it is non-toxic, but ammonia, that is one danger there, and the inflammability, which means that it can actually, be easily catching fire. Godrej with isobutane refrigerator. Now Godrej have started coming out with the isobutane refrigerators. Hydrocarbons can be the best way for India to reduce contribution to global warming potential or global warming. So global warming in our impact കുറയ്ക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി ഇന്ത്യക്കാണെങ്കിൽ നമുക്ക് പറയാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ഒരു best choice എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് hydrocarbons ആയിരിക്കും. So just very quickly, I will run through that thing again. So just what you need to understand is that we spoke about the two protocols. We spoke about the Montreal Protocol, which deals with the ozone depleting substances. And also I added something else for you people to understand, Kyoto Protocol. And I think Kyoto Protocol, I need you people to just to go through that thing. The most recent update with respect to Kyoto Protocol that speaks about the Kigali amendment to the Kyoto Protocol. I just want you to go through that thing. If we can go through, that would be nice. Further, I will be trying to take one thing for you also. Now, when you're speaking about, we were speaking about how these, ozone depleting substances, how the world has worked together in order to move out from more disaster causing substance to lesser disaster causing substances. See, we cannot be devoid of it. We have to go along with it. So that is why we are looking at something that has got less harm that can actually be done. So we spoke about the CFC. Then we said about how the world was, working towards moving from CFC regime to HCFCs, hydrofluorocarbon. And then we found it had to be again phased out, and we had to move into hydrofluorocarbon. And then from there again, we are phasing out when we are coming into hydrocarbon. And towards the end, what we understand is that hydrocarbons are the, best if you speak about, the kind of advantage it does for the environment, because it is less global warming potential it has, no impact on the ozone. And then we speak about the countries, various countries which are working together for the coming into a hydrocarbon regime, which may not be very easy, but we can slowly expect that it could be happening. And so that would be about it. Just keep in your mind, because I thought that I just added this point in order to add on the many other things. We'll be speaking more, many of the things which are currently related. So that is the reason I thought to add this point. Hopefully you have understood what is it actually meaning. You just need to understand what does it actually, the various regime, how it actually moves from one to the other, and what is the purpose of it. What does it actually mean by global warming potential? If I say that a particular, chemical has got, or if you speak about, different, a thing has got more global warming potential, what does it mean? And if you speak about something has got an ability to deplete the ozone, what does it actually mean? You might have seen most recently, if you speak about it, when we are speaking about the COVID issues, COVID times. COVID time, they say about many part of the ozone layer has been, been repaired, which means that in the northern part, I think, where the bigger hole was there in the ozone, that has been seen to be repaired during the time when the, but the pollution level was very low in the country. So in the world altogether. So there was also a picture about somebody watching Himalaya from Delhi. See, all those things are very, they're all fake, but except for this ozone thing, this has been proved that the lack of, the people sitting at home and the lesser pollution that has actually helped in reducing the impact on the ozone. And even the same thing, if you speak about later, like I wanted to take a comparison on the Delhi pollution. Now we are again speaking about pollution because you might have yesterday itself I explained about the most polluted cities in the world and all those kind of things. Now recently you might have seen that the pollution in Delhi has again restarted. So they have come out with a lot of various steps to be taken to reduce the pollution, but it is always a big question whether pollution in Delhi can be reduced or not. So that's a matter of discussion when we speak about some other aspect. Don't worry about it. Now we'll be going into the next point, and this is particulate matter. I think yesterday we discussed about it, so it would be easy for you to understand what is it. Particulate matter എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ PM എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് they are actually sulfates, nitrates, ammonia, sodium chloride, black carbon or mineral dust and water. So whatever ഈ particulate matter എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഈ അന്തരീക്ഷത്തിൽ കൂടെ തങ്ങി നടക്കുന്ന ഈ പൊടിപടലങ്ങൾ, ഇന്ന് അന്തരീക്ഷത്തിൽ നമ്മൾ കാണുന്ന പൊടിപടലങ്ങൾ, നമ്മളിങ്ങനെ നമ്മൾ റോഡിലൊക്കെ നടക്കുമ്പോഴാണെങ്കിലും അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വേറെ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ചെറിയ ചെറിയ പൊടിപടലങ്ങൾ അന്തരീക്ഷത്തിൽ ഇങ്ങനെ നടക്കുന്നത്, അതിനാണ് ഈ particulate matter എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. So it includes sulfates, nitrates, ammonia, sodium chloride, black carbon, mineral dust, water. So these are considered the most dangerous air pollutants. That's air pollution. I think in a particulate matter, if you go for less than 60 PM per cubic meter of air, cubic meter less than 60 under particulate matter in the counting. I think it actually space about it as a fresh air, breathable air. From 60 to 180 to 200, they say that the air is lightly polluted. And further, if you go on to see, like for example, from then to 260, 300, then it is higher polluted. And more than 360 or something, it is known as a heavily polluted air. So air pollution, it is based on the particulate matter per cubic meter of air. ഒരു ക്യൂബിക് മീറ്റർ എയറിൽ എത്രയാണ് particulate മാറ്ററിന്റെ കൗണ്ട്, അതിനനുസരിച്ചാണ്. അപ്പോൾ ഒരു ക്യൂബിക് മീറ്ററിൽ 60 ആണെങ്കിൽ അതിന്റെ ഒരു നമ്പർ ഉണ്ട്. You don't have much catch on that particular word I say. I'm just trying to give you a comparison. Like this much അത്രയാണ് particulate matter present എങ്കിൽ the air is breathable. Further, higher the particulate matter goes up, we call the air to be not good for breathing, or we call it as the polluted air. So all these things are actually like the items that we spoke about, all these things are actually moving around in the air, and more the vehicles move out, more the people move out, more activities happen, more industrial activities take place. All these things happen, the particulate matter in the air increases. And that is where you look at the quality of the air. There is something what we call it as the National Air Quality Index, NAQI. NAQI is actually a color-coded index that speaks about what is the quality of the air in real time. If you speak about I'm speaking a lot for you people. If you people are getting above your head, you can ask me to just to slow down. If you're okay with it, it's good to continue. Actually, in 2010, I think we had the major problem with the real-time monitoring of air quality. What does it actually mean by real-time monitoring? It's very simple. Like when you come out, you should be able to know what is the quality of the air that is around you. So earlier, I think during the Commonwealth Games in 2010, that was the time we had some of the air quality monitoring stations, AQMS. They were set up in different parts of the country. But later what happened? Nothing happened. But then it was air quality monitoring station, not real-time air quality monitoring. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്ക് അതിന്റെ എയർ കളക്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് അതിന്റെ ക്വാളിറ്റി മോണിറ്റർ ചെയ്ത് വരാൻ വേണ്ടി വലിയ സമയം എടുക്കുമായിരുന്നു. ഇപ്പൊ ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ചൈന, അതുപോലെ ഫ്രാൻസിലൊക്കെ എന്താണെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചാൽ, നിങ്ങൾ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു ഈ കൊറോണ ഒക്കെ വരുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് തന്നെ നിങ്ങൾ ചൈനയുടെ ഒക്കെ പിക്ചർ ഒക്കെ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്, നിങ്ങൾ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. ആൾക്കാർ മാസ്ക് ഒക്കെ ഇട്ടിട്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ കൂടുതൽ ആ സമയത്തും കണ്ടുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നത്. So usually what happens is that they have got the real time alerts. So they get in the morning itself, they get the information what is the quality of the air around them. So they know that it is not good. So the children must not be sent to the school. People have to wear the mask when they are coming out. So അങ്ങനെ rules കൊടുക്കും പെട്ടെന്ന് തന്നെ. So അതാണ് നമ്മുടെ ഈ റിയൽ ടൈം മോണിറ്ററിംഗിന്റെ ഒരു അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജ്. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഫ്രാൻസിലൊക്കെ എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഈ ഓഡിവൻ പ്ലാൻ വിച്ച് സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് ഇൻ നമ്മുടെ ഇന്ത്യയിലും സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്തായിരുന്നു ഓഡിവൻ. ഓഡിവൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഓഡ് നമ്പറുള്ള വെഹിക്കിൾ ഒരു ദിവസം, ഈവൻ നമ്പറുള്ള വെഹിക്കിൾ ഉള്ള ഒരു ദിവസം, അങ്ങനെ ഒരു പ്ലാൻ ഇന്ത്യയിലും ഈ ഡൽഹിയിൽ 2013-14 സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അതൊക്കെ ഫ്രാൻസിൽ നേരത്തെ മുതൽ എക്സസൈസിലുള്ള ഒരു ആക്ടിവിറ്റിയാണ്. ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ, അവർക്ക് ഒരു റിയൽ ടൈം ക്വാളിറ്റി ഓഫ് ദി എയർ അവർക്ക് വളരെ ലോ ആയിട്ടാണ് കാണുന്നതെങ്കിൽ then they decide on government offices, closing of the offices, and having the vehicles plying on the road based on their odd number or even number. അങ്ങനെയുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ നടക്കുമായിരുന്നു. So that was one of the issue when you speak about India also. India had the biggest problem. We are speaking about the real-time monitoring of the air. അപ്പൊ അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ പിന്നെ ഇപ്പൊ കുറെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഇപ്പൊ നിങ്ങൾക്കാണെങ്കിലും നിങ്ങളുടെ മൊബൈൽ ഫോൺ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നത് ചില ബ്രാൻഡുകളിലൊക്കെ അവർ കറക്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് കാണിക്കും നോട്ട് ദ UV ഇൻഡെക്സ്. സം ഓഫ് യുവർ ഫോൺസ് മേ ബി ഷോയിങ് നോ വാട്ട് ഇസ് ദ UV ഇൻഡെക്സ്. സം വിൽ ബി ഷോയിങ് വാട്ട് ഇസ് ദ എയർ ക്വാളിറ്റി ഇൻഡെക്സ്. ആരെങ്കിലും ഫോണിൽ നോക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ടോ? അത് ആരെങ്കിലും കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ? അങ്ങനെ എയർ ക്വാളിറ്റി ഇൻഡെക്സ് ആരെങ്കിലും കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ? നോ. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ നിങ്ങളിപ്പം സിറ്റിയുടെ ഒക്കെ കോർണറിലൊക്കെ പോവാണെങ്കിൽ ചില ഏരിയാസിലൊക്കെ നിങ്ങൾ നോക്കുവാണെങ്കിൽ സിറ്റീസിലൊക്കെ അവർ വലിയ വലിയ ബോർഡുകൾ മറ്റേ എന്താ പറയുന്നത് റിയൽ ടൈം ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഇത് തരുന്ന ഒരു ബോർഡ് അബിത പറയുന്ന യെസ് എന്നാണ്. യെസ്, കറക്റ്റ്. അപ്പം ഇതിലെന്താ സംഭവിക്കുന്നത് ചോദിച്ചാൽ യെസ് നവ്യ അതുപോലെ പറയുന്നുണ്ട്. യെസ് യെസ് എല്ലാവരും കാണുന്നുണ്ട്, കറക്റ്റ് ആണ്. സോ സിറ്റിയിലൊക്കെ പോകണമെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾ ബോർഡുകളൊക്കെ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാവും വിത്ത് ഒരു എയറിന്റെ ക്വാളിറ്റി ഒക്കെ മെൻഷൻ ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ബോർഡുകളൊക്കെ നിങ്ങൾ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. സോ ദിസ് ഈസ് സംതിങ് ദാറ്റ് നൗ ഇന്ത്യ ഹാസ് ആക്ച്വലി. Yes, Joseph, correct. Like Kochi, okay, you can see in Kochi and nowadays every cities they have come out with these boards also. And during that time, Government of India also started an application also they started. I think Kerala may not have the cities covered under the app. The app's name is SAFAR, SAFAR. This is a very important point also. SAFAR stands for System of Air Quality Monitoring, Weather Forecasting and Research. So the SAFAR was an app which was also color coding in the sense, for example, if there is a green color, yes, the air is good. For the next color, it's fine, yellow color. Then there is red color, then there is maroon color. When maroon color comes, you can say that the air is heavily polluted, you should not even move out. So അങ്ങനെ color code ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു situation start ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. So this is something that you need to understand. SAFAR full form, John, it's a system of air quality monitoring, weather forecasting and research. അത് ഫുള്ള് ഈ സഫർ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ടേം ഒരിക്കലും ഈ മൊത്തം വേർഡ് എടുക്കുന്നുണ്ടെന്ന് ഒരിക്കലും ആലോചിക്കരുത്. കാരണം നമ്മുടെ ഇന്ത്യയിൽ നമ്മൾ ഒരു രസമുള്ള ഒരു ഷോർട്ട് ഫോം ഉണ്ടാക്കിയിട്ട് അതിനെ കവർ ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു ഫുൾ ഫോം ഉണ്ടാക്കുകയാണ് സാധാരണ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. നമ്മൾ സാധാരണ ആൾക്കാർ എന്താണ് ഒരു ഫുൾ ഫോം എടുത്ത് അതിന്റെ ഫസ്റ്റ് ലെറ്റേഴ്സ് എടുത്തിട്ട് ഷോർട്ട് ഫോം ഉണ്ടാക്കും, അക്രോണിംസ്. പക്ഷെ ഇന്ത്യ ഇറ്റ്സ് എ ഡിഫറെന്റ് തിങ്. വി ലൈക്ക് സം ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുൾ ടേംസ്, സോ യു സെലക്ട് സം ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുൾ ടേംസ്. ആ ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുൾ ടേംസിനെ മാച്ച് ചെയ്യുന്ന പോലെ നമ്മൾ ഒരു ഫുൾ ഫോം ഉണ്ടാക്കും. So don't worry whether it is covering the complete letters, the first letter of every word there. So the full form is System of Air Quality Monitoring, Weather Forecasting and Research. ഇതൊരു ആപ്ലിക്കേഷൻ ആണ്. ഈ ആപ്ലിക്കേഷനിൽ നിങ്ങൾ പോവാണെങ്കിൽ you get a real time information and it doesn't cover cities like in Kerala. കേരളത്തിലെ cities ഒന്നും കവർ ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല. It covers cities I think outside Kerala like Delhi and major ആയിട്ടുള്ള മെട്രോസ് ഒക്കെയാണ് കവർ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. So let's go back to it. So PM, particulate matter. Now നിങ്ങൾ ചിലപ്പോൾ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാവും ഈ PM യൂഷ്വലി അവർ കൗണ്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത് മൈക്രോൺ സൈസ് ആണ്. എത്ര മൈക്രോൺ എന്നുള്ള ഇതിലാണ് കൗണ്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. നിങ്ങൾ ചില സ്ഥലങ്ങളിലൊക്കെ എഴുതി വെച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത് കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാവും 10 മൈക്രോണിൽ താഴെ സൈസിലുള്ള പ്ലാസ്റ്റിക് പെർമിറ്റഡ് അല്ലെന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞു. ആരെങ്കിലും കണ്ടതായിട്ട് ഓർമ്മയുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ നല്ലതാണ്. നിങ്ങൾ ഇത്രയും സൈസിന് താഴെയുള്ള പ്ലാസ്റ്റിക്സ് പെർമിറ്റഡ് അല്ല, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇത്രയും സൈസിന് താഴെയുള്ള എന്തെങ്കിലും ഇതിനെക്കുറിച്ചൊക്കെ പറയുമ്പോൾ ഒരു മൈക്രോൺ എന്നുള്ള സൈസാണ് പറയുന്നത്. നമ്മളെപ്പോഴും പറയുമ്പോൾ നമുക്കൊരു മോസ്റ്റ് ഡേഞ്ചറസ് ഫോർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ട് ആയിട്ട് ഒരു സൈസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് PM10 ആണ്. PM10 എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ പർട്ടിക്കുലേറ്റ് മാറ്റർ 10 മൈക്രോൺ ഇൻ സൈസ്. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് താഴോട്ട് നമ്മൾ സംസാരിക്കുമ്പോൾ എല്ലാ കൗണ്ടും നമ്മൾ കൗണ്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നതാണ്. ബട്ട് സ്റ്റിൽ whenever we speak about it, PM10, PM5, PM2.5, PM1 less than PM1. സോ പർട്ടിക്കുലേറ്റ് മാറ്റർ സൈസിനെ കുറിച്ചാണ് ഈ പറയുന്നത്. പർട്ടിക്കുലേറ്റ് മാറ്ററിന് 10 മൈക്രോണിൽ താഴെ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ യൂഷ്വലി നമ്മളത് ബ്രീത്തിങ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മുടെ മൂക്കിനുള്ളിൽ രോമപടലങ്ങളിൽ അത് തങ്ങി നിൽക്കും. 5 മൈക്രോൺ ആണെങ്കിൽ ഇറ്റ് ക്യാൻ ആക്ച്വലി ഗോ മോർ ഇൻ ടു യുവർ ലങ്സിലെത്തില്ല എങ്കിലും നമ്മുടെ മൂക്കിലൂടെ ഉള്ളിലോട്ട് കയറി പോകാൻ പറ്റും. മൈക്രോൺ 2.5 സൈസ് എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുമ്പോഴത്തേനും ഇറ്റ് ക്യാൻ ആക്ച്വലി ഗോ മച്ച് മോർ. ഈവൻ ദോ ഐ സെഡ് അബൌട്ട് 10 മൈക്രോൺസ് ആണ് ഞാൻ ഇവിടെ പറഞ്ഞിരിക്കുന്നത് എങ്കിലും ദാറ്റ് മേ നോട്ട് ബി ദാറ്റ് ഡേഞ്ചറസ്. ബട്ട് സ്റ്റിൽ വി ആക്ച്വലി പ്രിവെന്റ് ദീസ് സൈസസ് ഓൾസോ. പക്ഷേ particulate matter which is of size which is less than 2.5 micron in size or 1 or less than 1, be very careful. Those are the ones which can go very deep into your lungs and it can penetrate into your lungs and it can cause lung cancer and various other kind of lung issues. So this is one thing about it. So PM stands for particulate matter. Particulate matter ന്റെ definition ഞാൻ നിങ്ങളോട് പറഞ്ഞു. It's actually all these kind of things that we spoke here. sulfates, nitrates, ammonia, sodium chloride, black carbon, mineral dust, water. So ഇതെല്ലാം എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഇതെല്ലാം എയർ പൊല്യൂട്ടൻസ് ആണ്. അതിങ്ങനെ അന്തരീക്ഷത്തിൽ തങ്ങിയിരിക്കുകയാണ്. So much of the activities happen, you know that these things become more and more concentrated. So when it is more and more concentrated, it can have a better chance of being breathed in. It can be, by breathing, it can actually go inside. And, these can settle deep inside the lungs, making people vulnerable to cardiovascular and respiratory diseases, as well as lung cancer. According to WHO, the most health damaging particles are those with a diameter of 10 microns or less, which can penetrate and lodge deep inside the lung. Even though 10 micron ആണ് പറയുന്നതെങ്കിൽ തന്നെയും it doesn't actually, it may not be that is, they actually go a step higher to say that, even that must be avoided. But it's a 2.5 or 5 microns or lesser than 2.5. Those are the ones which would be more dangerous for human beings. So it's always important to see that particulate matter has to be reduced. So everything is based on PM. Delhi pollution, they speak about what is the quantity of the particulate matter in a cubic meter of air. So if it is more than 300, 360, which means it's a heavily polluted air. I don't want you to even, speak about it, because you people, if you have traveled to Delhi, you might have seen when you travel by car or any other vehicle, you will see the kind of pollution that is happening in Delhi. So that is one thing. And Delhi pollution, I told you, it's always a favorite area of question for the UPSC examiners. So I would, because one of the time the question was like this: why Delhi is more polluted, even though Kolkata and Mumbai are more industrialized than Delhi. Delhi nekalam koodal industrialized as the cities Kolkata and Mumbai aanengil thaneyum, why Delhi is more polluted? So inganeyukku questions vannittund. There are many reasons for the Delhi pollution. It can be asked a question like this: which of the following things can be attributed to Delhi pollution can be attributed to which of the following things? Delhi pollution connect. They could speak about high density of population, high density of the vehicle, or you speak about stub burning in the Punjab Haryana region, or you speak about the pollution from the industries. All these kind of choices can be given just like that, and they can ask you questions with respect to how the pollution is happening, or how it is high. Or you can speak about also forest fires in other parts of the northern part of the country. So ingane chodyangal varan pattum. So be very careful about it. The term ningal orthu vechirikka, endana particulate matter, what does it include, and what are the significance of that thing, and all those things, the extra information I spoke about. I spoke about National Air Quality Index, I spoke about air quality monitoring station, I spoke about the SAFAR system of air quality monitoring, weather forecasting and research. I also spoke about how the quality of air is mentioned. I spoke about the particulate matter sizes at 10, at 5, at 2.5, at 1 and less than 1, and what are the dangers which are associated with it. So all these things must be kept in your mind. Can I think all of you are getting whatever I am speaking? All of you? All okay? Is it too much of fact for you people? Is it too much for you people? Facts, but is it okay? Is it within your understanding? Comprehension? Yes, very good. Nice. I don't want to push in a lot of fact, but since I am meeting you for the first time, I thought that it's good if you people can get as much as you can get from me, and then further we'll see it. Anyway, you people are writing the exam this time, so get as much as you can get. Now, this is one thing I wanted to continue with. This is about another very important matter. Important matter in the sense, an important topic usually. Even though it is water pollution, we are not Delhi. These options matter, right? Joseph, in the case of Delhi, all the yes, all option correct. All option correct. Sir, any geographical reason for that? Yes, very good. John, the geographical reason is its location. In Delhi, what actually happened? In the Kolkata and Mumbai, they have got an advantage. There is they are bordered by the ocean. So what actually happens is that ocean takes a lot of the burden from the city, whereas Delhi is a landlocked city. I did not put it in the option, but it's very good that you remembered it. You should remember that there is also a geographical reason, its location. Delhi is a landlocked capital, or you say state, whereas Kolkata and Mumbai, they have got the ocean, they are bordered by the ocean, which actually helps them to I would use the word as a siphon of its higher polluting agents. That is one thing you can keep in your mind. And all of the options are right, whatever I spoke. Like the higher density of population is one, density of the vehicles is very big of a reason, because the number of vehicles that is per capita, I think it, if you look at the number of vehicles there, it's very high. Even Kerala, for the 3.5 crore people in Kerala, we have got 2.5 crore vehicles. Just imagine. That was the most recent information about Kerala status of vehicles in Kerala. And Delhi, other reason, Punjab Haryana region, the stub burn chamber, adile poga soot, black carbon, idellam vannu veerunathu. Usually Delhi aanu idellam absorb cheyyunnathu. We don't know what could be the reason. Maybe the flow of the wind. And then there is also the northern part, Uttarakhand. Avadeyokka fire nadakkumbodanengilum movement actually comes down. So the fires in Uttarakhand, idakke some of the reasons aayittu nammal parayunnu. Along with it, you can easily speak about all those common reasons. And then much more than the reason as we spoke just now, even though Kolkata and Mumbai are more industrialized but less polluted for the reason that we just discussed. It means that Mumbai and Kolkata has got that advantage of having a marine border, which actually helps them to pass out the burden to the oceans. That is something that you should keep in your mind. Excellent, very good. So it's good that you people discuss. Sir, does India is working towards hydrocarbons to reduce the global warming presently, like any policy so far for what? So we speak about the green hydrogen. I thought that I'll take it as a separate one, Shalini Krishna. So we'll be speaking about the green hydrogen roadmap. That is something that we are speaking mainly about. Hydrocarbons is actually independently tried by the various industries, like various companies are actually working towards that thing. We don't be much speaking about it because hydrocarbon is not a must. It doesn't speak about we need to move to it. But like when you speak about the HFCs, hydrofluorocarbon, that is what still we deal with. So hydrocarbons are actually being initiated by the various industries. But if you speak about it, we'll speak about further. That is about the refrigerants. So I told you it has to be taken place by the availability, the cost, and there are risks also when you speak about hydrocarbons being used as refrigerant. But for energy sources, we'll also speak about the green hydrogen roadmap that India is actually planning up. Most recently, there have been a lot of, initiatives towards that. That we'll be speaking, Shalini. But I told you, from the government side, we don't much speak about it. It's about the industries that are working towards making use of these. We spoke about Godrej, we spoke about various countries and companies which are actually working towards it. Okay, very good, Shalini. Excellent. Now we'll come into another very important topic, which is water pollution. We are not discussing about what is water pollution and discuss. I'm taking few most important points out. Along with it, we'll discuss about the rest of the things that will be coming. Now let's go into you just to get that particular point. Yesterday I told you this thing: dissolved oxygen 8 microgram per liter. It is contaminated water, and 4 microgram per liter is highly contaminated. See that term used here. Dissolved oxygen, two concept very important at orth vechirikkanam. Adeniki thonnathu ningal initial stage il cover cheyidittundavam. Biochemical oxygen demand, oxygen demand ennu parayunnathu, it's the oxygen that is needed by bacteria in water to decompose the organic waste in the water. Ennu പറഞ്ഞാൽ വെള്ളത്തിലുള്ള organic waste നെ decompose ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി ബാക്ടീരിയയ്ക്ക് ആവശ്യമുള്ള ആ ഓക്സിജൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന പേരാണ് ബയോകെമിക്കൽ ഓക്സിജൻ ഡിമാൻഡ്. ഇത് രണ്ടും ഒന്ന് ഓർത്ത് വെച്ചിരിക്കാം. ഞാനിത് എക്സ്പ്രസ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഞാൻ ബാക്കി നിങ്ങളോട് പറയാം. സോ ഡിസോൾവ്ഡ് ഓക്സിജൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒന്നുകൂടെ ഓർത്ത് വെച്ചിരിക്കുക. The amount of oxygen that is dissolved. So when you speak about the amount of oxygen that is dissolved is 4 mg or less. അതിന്റെ അർത്ഥം എന്താണെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചാൽ ഒരു ലിറ്റർ വെള്ളത്തിൽ അതിൽ അവൈലബിൾ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഓക്സിജൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് 4 മൈക്രോഗ്രാമിനേക്കാളും കുറവാണ്. So when it is less than 4 microgram in 1 liter water, it says that the water is heavily polluted, which means there is no availability of oxygen, which means there are no bacteria which are capable of decomposing the organic waste, which means the water will be very turbid and dirty and waste ഒക്കെ നിറഞ്ഞു കിടക്കുന്ന ചെളി കിടക്കുന്ന അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഇങ്ങനെ അഴുകി കിടക്കുന്ന വെള്ളമായിരിക്കുന്നതാണ്. 4 mg മുതൽ 8 mg വരെ ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഇത് contaminated water ആണ്, but still it is not completely polluted, heavily contaminated. More than 8 mg, which actually means there is enough amount of oxygen that is present in the water. Basic ecosystem explanation ചെയ്തു കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നത് Bibin might have explained to you about what is photic zone. See, when you speak about a water body, the water body can be divided into various zones. I thought that, see, എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഞാൻ ഈ പറയുമ്പോഴെല്ലാം I'm thinking that you people are connecting everything. That is the reason I'm speaking a lot of things out. So if you are not connecting, you can just tell me. So, വെള്ളം നമ്മളൊരു വാട്ടർ ബോഡിനെ ഡിവൈഡ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതിന്റെ ഒരു സോണിനെ നമ്മൾ സോണലായിട്ട് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു ഏരിയ ആയിട്ട് ഡിവൈഡ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ the first area is what we call it as the photic zone. Photic zone എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് the area in the water or the level or the height until which the sunlight can penetrate into the water. എന്നാൽ വെള്ളത്തിലോട്ട് സൺലൈറ്റ് പെനട്രേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് എത്താൻ പറ്റുന്ന തരത്തിലുള്ള അത്ര ഏരിയയ്ക്ക് പറയുന്ന പേരാണ് ഫോട്ടിക് സോൺ. ഈ ഫോട്ടിക് സോണിന്റെ അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജ് എന്താണെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ദിസ് ഫോട്ടിക് സോൺ ആക്ച്വലി allows the water to have enough oxygen. So that is what we need, a clear water. Sunlight has to be penetrating in, and that is what you might have heard about. It's around 30 meters to 35 meters, I think 40 meters. It may be based on the waters also. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് നിങ്ങൾ കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാവും ഈ കോറൽ റീഫ്സ് ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടാവുന്നത് അത്രയുള്ള ഹൈറ്റിൽ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഷാലോ വാട്ടേഴ്സിനാണ്. വളരെ ഡീപ്പ് വെള്ളത്തിൽ ഒരിക്കലും കോറൽ റീഫ് കാണാൻ പറ്റില്ല. ഇത്രയും വെള്ളത്തിലേ കാണാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ, കാരണം ദേ നീഡ്, ബിക്കോസ് സൂസ് ആന്തലിനെ നീഡ് സൺലൈറ്റ് ടു ഡു ദ ഫോട്ടോസിന്തസിസ്. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ ഈ ഒരു അത്രയും ഷാലോ ആയിട്ടുള്ള വെള്ളത്തിൽ മാത്രമേ കോറൽ റീഫ് കാണുന്നുള്ളൂ എന്ന് നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നത്. എല്ലാവർക്കും മനസ്സിലാവുന്നുണ്ടെന്ന് ഞാൻ വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. സോ വാട്ട് ആക്ച്വലി ഹാപ്പൻ, ദ ഫോട്ടിക് സോൺ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഈ വെള്ളത്തിൽ ലൈറ്റ് എത്തുന്ന ആ ഒരു സോൺ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന പേര് ഫോട്ടിക് സോൺ ആണ്. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടുള്ള ഏരിയനെ അഫോട്ടിക് സോൺ എന്നാണ് പറയുന്നത്. എഗെയിൻ അതിനെ പിന്നെ ഡിഫൈഡ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളത് അബിസൽ സോൺ ആണ്. ഏറ്റവും ഡീപ്പായിട്ട്, ഏറ്റവും ഡീപ്പ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് അതിന്റെ ഡെപ്തിന് പറയുന്ന പേര് പ്രൊഫണ്ടൽ സോൺ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അബിസൽ സോൺ എന്നാണ്. അപ്പൊ ഇവിടെ നമ്മൾ അത്രയും നോക്കണ്ട. ഐ വാണ്ടഡ് ടു ജസ്റ്റ് ടെൽ യു അബൌട്ട് ദ ഫോട്ടിക് സോൺ. ഫോട്ടോൺ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ലൈറ്റ് നിങ്ങൾക്കറിയാം. സോ ഫോട്ടിക് സോൺ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ലൈറ്റ് എത്തുന്ന സ്ഥലത്തിനാണ് ഫോട്ടിക് സോൺ പറയുന്നത്. So here what is very important is that you need clear water so that the sunlight can penetrate and oxygen can be made available. So this is something that we discussed yesterday also. We spoke about how these cultural eutrophication, which promotes the growth of algae in a very quick time, which creates a cover over the top of the water, affecting the the living organisms in the water. So that is something that you need to understand. So water pollution is very clear. We are speaking about the clear definition for water pollution, which means when you speak about a water is highly contaminated, it means the presence of the dissolved oxygen is less than 4 microgram per liter water. If it's contaminated, we speak about it being water where in 1 liter water there is more than 4 mg to 8 microgram of oxygen. If it is more than 8 microgram oxygen per liter water, we call the water is a clear, clean water. So this is something that you understand. First one. Second thing what you need to understand is that biochemical oxygen demand actually means the oxygen that is needed for the bacteria so that they will be able to decompose the organic waste. If they don't decompose the organic waste, the water would be turbid and unclean and dirty and all those kind of things. Now let's take, yesterday, I think I was explaining about the Loktak Lake. See, in Loktak Lake, recently there have been a lot of attention given to the Loktak Lake. A lot of attention, even though we are not speaking about the country alone, the world is actually looking at it. That is the reason it is also under the Montreux's record. The Montreux's record in the so Loktak Lake in the issue discuss the beautiful thing about Loktak Lake, it's very famous for its floating islands. It's actually islands are floating on the top of this in this lake. Islands, don't think it is unoccupied islands. They're all inhabited by the people. Not all, I mean, at least some of them are inhabited by the people. The people are doing their daily activities there. They're fishing, they're cooking, they're doing the daily chores. So what is happening? All those wastewater is actually flowing down into the Loktak Lake, which is affecting the lake ecosystem. So this is something that you must be keeping in mind. So what actually happened is that, the pollution level in the Loktak Lake is very high. The water has become, the biochemical oxygen demand is very high there, which means there is less dissolved oxygen. So now under the, it's actually in the list of the wetlands by the National Wetlands Conservation Authority. So they are putting more concentration on it. They're putting more fund into it. They are working to see that if the lake can be revived completely. So this is something that you need to understand. And activities the water could be unclear. You put a lot of dirty water into it, a lot of dirt flows into it, then it would not allow the light to pass through. A waste like float in the light will not penetrate into the water. And when the light does not penetrate, the oxygen availability will be low. And then it will actually reduce the available oxygen that is in the water. So this is something that you must be keeping in your mind. So this is something about the Loktak Lake I was speaking. Loktak Lake, we will be speaking about it again. But for the information you can keep in your mind, Loktak Lake is famous for the floating islands. And these islands are very famous because I told you, it's a vegetation that floats around in the lake. And second most important thing is that there is the biggest of the floating island. Is there somebody who can tell me what is the name of the biggest floating island in Loktak Lake? Somebody can tell me what is the biggest floating island in the Loktak Lake? It's very famous. It has been asked in many times in the examination, and I think you can still expect in the examination. Somebody can tell me. It actually comes as a current affair question too. You can simply get it on. It's a one-word question. Yes, someone has answered it. Yeah, Cable Lamchao. Abhishankar has said it. It's Cable Lamchao. And can somebody tell me why it is very famous? What is the significance of Cable Lamchao? What is the significance of it? Why? What is the significance? The significance of Cable Lamchao. It's not only being the biggest one, it also has got a significance. Yes, somebody else. Yeah, it's a national park. Abin and Arvinda said it. It's a national park. And what is that, special animal that is being protected in this national park? Somebody can tell me? There is another, it's a national park, and it's a special reserve for a particular animal. That is also very important. I think that also has been asked in many examinations. No, nobody knows it. It's a deer. It's a deer. Then the parent is Sangai, S-A-N-G-A-I, Sangai. It's also known as the Manipur Bro Antler. So this is a deer that is being protected in this national park. It is Sangai, S-A-N-G-A-I, Sangai deer. It's also known as the Manipur Bro Antler number. It's a very famous species. I think it has been also listed under the species recovery program. It was a beautiful program started in the initial stage of 2000, which was mainly looking at recovering those species which are getting which are maybe endangered or critically endangered or endangered. So that was something known as the SRP or the species recovery program. 2 crore rupees was allocated for that thing. We don't have to discuss those things, that you can keep aside. So that is how we were speaking about it. Please keep all these things in mind. Okay, if you are not knowing and if you are hearing it for the first time, I want you people to note it down. Be very careful. This is how the questions could be expected in the examination. I want you to note down the points that we are discussing. Yeah, before going into the Ganges gap action plan and further about the river pollution, we'll take a 2 minutes break. You can take the water, you can just wash your face. I think 8 o'clock is not a good time to sleep, so you can wash your face and take a little water, and then we'll start. In the next 1 minute. 1 minute we'll start again. Continue. Yeah, we'll continue it. So this is we talked about the water pollution, and we are mainly targeting on one area, which is the Ganga water pollution. Here, I just wanted to tell you about, yesterday we just gave an introduction on that thing. I spoke about, like the Ganga Action Plan 1 that started in 1986. It started with the 25 cities which were located in the banks of River Ganga. So they are not the target. See, Now, people have been discussing a lot about pollution in Ganga. And many reasons. The identity, or if you speak about the kind of image that it has when you speak about India, all these things become some of the reason for that thing. And recently, there have been also much of the talk during the COVID times when people said that the pollution in Ganga has actually gone down. Then suddenly we also had the other issues coming out with the dead bodies floating and all those kind of things. So cleaning of Ganga has been, something that has been looked in for the years and years. If you look at just in the brief past history, for the last almost 40 years or 30 to 35 to 40 years, you have been hearing a lot about the cleaning of Ganga. But it has not become possible for many reasons. We don't want to criticize on the religious angle on it, because that would be a matter of different concern. But then if you speak about the other aspect, if you speak about the villages which are located in the banks of the river, you're looking at the cities which are, which have got their drainages which are flowing into the river Ganga. Or you speak about the number of, industries which are actually located in the banks of river Ganga. We'll be speaking some other things in the next slide. And much more than that, when you speak about, the way, people, treat this particular water body, what are the concerns? Because, many of the people look at water bodies as a place where you can dispose the waste at all. So that kind of an attitude of the people. So keeping all these things may be some of the important reasons that you can find for the Ganga being polluted. Now, if you look at the flow of Ganga, you know that it starts from Uttarakhand, goes to Uttar Pradesh, and through to it goes to Bihar, touches on Jharkhand, then goes to West Bengal, and then flows into Bangladesh. So here, throughout its route, it's a very long route, 2,000 kilometers of route. What actually happens is that the most of the the drainages that you find would be happening in the UP. That's what we'll be covering in the next slide. And all these drainages with the untreated water, they flow into the river. So the first plan was looking at the cleaning of the city, cleaning of the river based on on the cities. Like, for example, you are looking at the cities and targeting on the river based on the cities which are located on the bank of the river. And second plan, which started in 1993, they were looking at the cleaning of the tributaries along with the Ganga cleaning. In Ganga clean tributaries in the cleaning was planned along with the cleaning of Ganga river. And then in 2000, which I don't want to add too many, in 2009 comes the National Ganga River Basin Authority. That is in 2009 when they declared, Gangetic River dolphin as the national aquatic animal. I think you remember that thing. I said about it yesterday. So Gangetic River dolphin was declared as the national aquatic animal. It was mainly to show how important it is for India to clean Ganga or keep Ganga clean. So that was one of the reasons for keeping this one. There are very important, like when you speak about the important organisms which live in Ganga River could be the Gharial. Gharial is a kind of a crocodile. You might have heard about it also, thin kind of a crocodile. And then we speak about the Gangetic River dolphin, which are very, two most, if you speak about the famous animals which are living in the Ganges River. And then this Ganga River Basin Authority that came in 2009, which came as an umbrella program in the sense, it wanted to mix up all those kind of collaboration from various kinds of people, education institutions, NGOs, people from the government, people from the state government. So bringing everyone together and try to bring out activities for the purpose of cleaning Ganga. And then we speak about the most recent program, which is the Namami Ganga program. So this Namami Ganga, that is what we spoke yesterday also in the River Alliance. You remember that? We spoke about urban alliance where all these cities which are located in the river banks come together for the having more cooperation, more collaboration for the purpose of having better management of their cities and better management of the river. So this was something that we spoke yesterday. So here, when you speak about Namami Ganga, it started in 2014 under the aegis of the new government. So the government was initiated the program. So it started with around 2,000 crore being put forward for the purpose of the Namami Ganga program. And they all looked into various aspects of cleaning Ganga. They targeted on the villages which are located in the river bank. They targeted on the municipal corporations, the towns, They looked at how, what you call, people can be participative, like people participatory approach. That is what they followed under the Namami Ganga program. People participate in bringing the people's participation. They want the people to be an important component of cleaning Ganga. Now, pollution in Ganga, causes, etc., that were discussed by the CPCB. CPCB stands for the Central Pollution Control Board. Nowadays people say that the most polluted institution in the world is the Central Pollution Control Board. It's about the State Pollution Control Board, also the same thing. So Central Pollution Control Board in 2013, they spoke about the high fecal matters and 116 drains. The major reason that I've mentioned, 114 drains ne kurichana അവർ mention ചെയ്തത് main ആയിട്ട്. പിന്നെ high fecal matters. High fecal matters എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് the people, they defecate into the particular river. They defecate into the river. Just imagine. And that's, they say, they speak about Haridwar. Haridwar എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ ഏറ്റവും what you call holiest site, one of the holiest site place ആണ്. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ പാലി in Rajasthan, you leave that thing. That is just an example about how river pollution happens in Rajasthan, also in different places. Let's not look into that thing. So I was just speaking about the fecal matters that were found in the that was high fecal matters found in the Ganga river. They say the purest of the water they speak about, that is Haridwar. Even there also they found there was presence of fecal matters. So in the Varaniturnangil, people defecate, because if you speak about the what you call the most recent Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, allowed get into Swachh Bharat Abhiyan kurichu. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was mainly targeting, avരുടെ material target എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് to create toilets എന്നുള്ളതാണ്, to build around 120 million toilets, 120 million, which means around 12 crore toilets to be constructed in a period of 5 years time. 2014 മുതൽ 2019 സ്വച്ഛ് ഭാരത് അഭിയാന്റെ ടാർഗറ്റ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് 120 million toilets ആയിരുന്നു, 12 കോടി toilets. We don't know what would be the status, but in 2019 October 2nd, പ്രധാനമന്ത്രി നമ്മുടെ നരേന്ദ്രമോദി അദ്ദേഹം he declared India as open defecation free. So all these toilets are being constructed. That is our belief now. So whatever the matter is that the target adaayirunnu. So the target was to create or construct toilets for the people. Now what actually happens is that one of the thing, if you think about construction of toilets, you can directly connect it with this Namami Ganga program also. So how you can stop the people from moving into defecating into the river and using the river for those purposes. And then we spoke about the 116 drains we are speaking, the number of drains that is directly flowing into the river Ganges. So itrem drains that we'll be speaking in the next slide also. So much of drain, it actually brings in so much of untreated water. If you drains namakku ella expect cheyyam, drains from the companies, drains from the industries around, drains from the drains from the villages, drains from the municipal corporations or the towns which are there. All these things are directed into river Ganga. So that is the irony. You see how holy it is, how important it is for the country, and how do we keep that thing. And maybe the same people, that it's I think I had one of the opportunity to go to the Ganges River in West Bengal. We went to one of the place where this river was actually flowing through West Bengal. So we went there. You know how polluted it is, how polluted the water is, and still you see the people jumping in and maybe the holy bath or whatever you call. But the thing is that one side, if you are polluting, you yourself are capable of again going into the water and taking a bath. So which means that there's an irony that you find, because when you find it very holy, it is expected that you don't pollute it, but you use it for both the purposes. That is what you find in these areas. So we can also speak about it. Somebody asked you about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. നിങ്ങളോട് ഇപ്പോൾ സ്വച്ഛ് ഭാരത് അഭിയാനെ കുറിച്ച് ചോദിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിലും അതിന്റെ ഒരു എയിം നമുക്ക് ഇത് പറയാൻ പറ്റും, because places in UP, Bihar, Uttarakhand, or I speak about West Bengal, these are the areas with the least number of flushed latrine. അല്ലേ, flushed latrine ഏറ്റവും കുറവുള്ള സ്ഥലമാണ്. Flushed latrine എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് latrines നമ്മൾ രണ്ടായിട്ടാണ് ഡിവൈഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, dry latrines and flushed latrines. Dry latrine എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് നിങ്ങൾക്കറിയാം, നോർമലി വില്ലേജസിലൊക്കെ രണ്ട് കല്ലൊക്കെ എടുത്ത് വെച്ചിട്ട് ഡിഫെക്കേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് അവർ റിലീവ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി വെക്കുന്നത്, അതിനാണ് ഈ ഡ്രൈ ലാട്രിൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ഫ്ലഷ് ലാട്രിൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് where you have got water flush, you can flush in the water, so that that is what we call it about the flush latrines. So if you speak about these places through which Ganga flows, we can find them to be the places where there are least number of flushed toilets. So construction of toilets under the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan targeting these areas would have been one of the would have been achieving one of the aim by reducing the people's urge to go into these rivers for their morning activities. So this is something that we can keep in mind. So when in the future, because I'm telling you, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is one of the topic that you people are going to have it again and again, because that has got good targets. It has been achieving a lot of targets. It has been working very well. Swachh Bharat, the towns are being discussed and always displayed every time. That every year they come out with the list of the towns which are fully clean. So you can expect some questions on that thing. So this was the basic on it, and then Kanpur to Varanasi, that is the stretch which is most polluted. So in UP, from Kanpur to Varanasi, Kanpur model Varanasi vareyulla sthalamana ettavum polluted ennu parayunnathu. So which means that you can just imagine whatever I told you now. Maybe the kind of drains we speak about, all those things which is coming into this one. So there are 33 drains, 33 drains. I'll tell you this fact if you can remember. Like I told you, mains examination answer opportunity if you can remember these areas, which is very important. So there are 33 drains which are flowing, which are actually flowing directly into the river, just in the gap between Kanpur to Varanasi. The places are also mentioned, which is not important, like Kanpur, Unnao, Fatehpur, Rai Bareli, Allahabad and Varanasi. Kanpur മുതൽ Varanasi വരെയുള്ള ഈ സ്ഥലങ്ങളാണ്. ഈ സ്ഥലങ്ങളിലാണ് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ ഇൻഡസ്ട്രീസും അതുപോലെ ചെറിയ ചെറിയ കമ്പനികളിലൊക്കെ സെറ്റപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് ലെതർ ടാനറീസ്. ലെതർ ടാനറി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഈ ലെതർ വർക്ക് നടക്കുന്ന സ്ഥലങ്ങളിലൊക്കെ. അപ്പോൾ സോ മച്ച് ഓഫ് കെമിക്കൽസ് ആർ യൂസ്ഡ് ഇൻ ലെതർ ടാനറീസ്. അപ്പൊ ലെതറിന്റെ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്ന സ്ഥലങ്ങളിലൊക്കെ ഇഷ്ടംപോലെ കെമിക്കൽസ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. സോ അതുകൊണ്ട് ഇവിടെയൊക്കെ ഇഷ്ടംപോലെ ഫാക്ടറീസ് ഇതൊക്കെ വളരെ കൂടുതലായിട്ട് സെറ്റിൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള സ്ഥലമാണ് ഈ കാൺപൂർ മുതൽ വാരണാസി വരെയുള്ള സ്ഥലം. So this Kanpur, Unnao, Fatehpur, Rai Bareli, Allahabad and Varanasi, too many drains, around 33 drains. Industries, tanneries, and in UP alone, 687 industries are polluting. Just imagine. In UP alone, in Uttar Pradesh, in 687 polluting industries are located in the banks of the river Ganga. Just imagine. 687 industries. And there are 43 in UP alone. Just imagine. We spoke about 116 drainages, which are shared between 5 states. 5 states share ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ള 116 നമ്മുടെ ഡ്രെയിൻസിനെ കുറിച്ചാണ് പറയുന്നത്. Out of which 43 drains are only in UP alone. UP യിൽ മാത്രം നമുക്കുള്ളത് 43 drainages ആണ്. So which means that the UP has got a more number of drainages, or the large number of drainages which are actually polluting the river Ganga. And there are no STPs which are working properly. STP stands for sewage treatment plants. So usually what happens is that the chemical effluents, the effluents that is coming from the industries, that must be treated, and then only the treated water must be flowing into the next river body, river water. But here what they do is that the sewage treatment plants are not working properly. Since they are not working properly, the dirty water is directly flowing into the river. The company is not abiding by the pollution standard. The companies don't follow the pollution standards. So which actually means that they don't create STPs, and if the STPs are destroyed, they don't even repair them. So they don't go by the standards which are prescribed for the managing the chemical effluents or industrial effluents. Around 5100 million liter per day, which means that MLD stands for million liter per day. ഒരു ദിവസം 5100 million liter per day waste water and toxic waste from the industries flow into river Ganga. എന്നാൽ ഗംഗാ നദിയിലോട്ട് ഒരു ദിവസം മാത്രം ഫ്ലോ ചെയ്യുന്നത് 5100 million liter ആണ്. 5100 million liter, just imagine. So 5100 multiplied by 10 lakhs. So that is what the number of liter of waste water that flows into the river Ganga. So I think towards the end you will be thinking that almost all the water that is flowing in Ganga could be this waste water coming from the industries, isn't it? That's how you would be actually coming into a conclusion. So this is the there's a state of affairs in managing Ganga river. I think situation has been not improved. If you speak about the situation now, you wouldn't find actually it being improved. But there are a lot of other activities that is being taking place. Yeah, lot of activities are actually taking place now, like citizen oriented, citizen centered programs. Government is actually working hard on creating a better Ganga river ecosystem. All these things are actually happening, but still you must be remembering that the situation doesn't actually look good as it is being spoken about. So I think all of you are okay with it. Are you all clear? Clear, all of you? I think evening time is not a very good time to listen, but then still I try to make it as fact filled and as good as possible. But then it's up to you. I think yeah, it's all clear, all of you. I think yes. Just you need to be telling me, it's all going on well. If you have got any issues, you should, because I'm putting in a lot of fact that would help you in your mains writing and prelims writing and everything. So I would just cover it in. And I told you it would not be a very conventional pollution class, because it would be a very different one. Because in civil services we are going to be looking at things differently. So we don't want the general definition and all. We are looking at areas that we need to be preparing upon. Very good. Thank you. So that's one. And when I was speaking about Ganga, I also want to tell you about, Ganga River water. It's a river that is, much more important. I think recently, I don't know whether you have heard about this thing. There is something what we call it as Inland Waterways Development Authority. Inland Waterways Development Authority. So Inland Waterways is actually what you call development of inland waterways. So rail, road route, air route, water route route plan water route concept it's a inland waterways concept. This significance the idea behind it actually started in 1986. And 1986 is a very important year if you speak about the lot of very important events that have ever happened in the government. So during this the discussion on waterways, it actually the aim of this waterways development to have the transportation that can be made through the waterways. It has got advantages in multiple ways. One thing or another, the transportation cost in water is very low. The cost of transport is actually very low. And second thing, because you know that the cost will be only of the vehicle, road in a kurcho. And if you speak about you don't need to construct a road, you don't need to actually clean or keep it ready, no tolls. A lot of things are actually being, it's only the vehicle, the ship or the vessel that is being used for the transportation. And second thing, it can actually connect places which are not connected by road or rail or air. Air road or rail. Air is actually a different mode altogether. You cannot use it for regular transport activities at all. So road video, rail video connect connect very security important areas. Okay, if you're not able to do it by the road or rail, you can actually do it by the water. So this was the idea behind the development of inland waterways. Inland waterways making navigable, identifying navigable course of water. Navigable course in another, ship navigate stretch identify. And the stretch in waterway to develop. For example, one of the first and the foremost waterway that was developed was it was Allahabad Haldia waterway. Allahabad Haldia, Allahabad, which is in UP, Avada Modala, Haldia, which is in West Bengal. That's a long stretch of water. Navigable water, Ganga Nadila, navigable water. So that's developed in the waterway, Allahabad Haldia waterway. So this is the first waterway, National Waterways 1. So be very careful about it. It can be another question that can come in the examination. So Aditya waterway is the Allahabad Haldia waterway that stretches from Allahabad to Haldia. And then when you speak about the second one is actually waterway in the Brahmaputra river. That is Sadia Dubri waterway. It's from Sadia to Dubri. That's in Assam. So Sadia Dubri waterway is the another one, which is known as the second waterway. I think the third one is the Kollam Kottapuram. So you, by the word itself, you understood it's in Kerala. Kollam Kottapuram. It doesn't take only the rivers alone. It takes the canals, lakes, navigate distance, length. That's waterway to design. That's Kakinada Puducherry. Kakinada Puducherry, that was the fourth waterway. Kakinada Mudala Puducherry. The fifth one was a Talcher Damra. Talcher Damra, the Odisha Abagatala waterway. Talcher River, Damra River, and the river, that's connected to waterway. So in Kerala, if you are not able to remember, just search it and learn it. That would be the best way. I think now there are many more waterways being declared. I think 7, 8 waterways all have been declared. But the comedy is that these have been all declared much before around 30 years. Some of the things which I'm speaking now. But none of them have been very heavily effective as on date. They speak about the percentage of the transportation that happens by waterways in China. It's very high. They have actually improved it in a very beautiful way. We don't have to speak much on it. It's not a comparison. But we are lucky. We are blessed with a large number of navigable course of water in India. But still, it's actually been delayed. So that is something that India can do in order to promote the waterways in India. So I was speaking about the waterways. I spoke about the National Waterways Development Authority, the inland waterways, declared inland waterways in India. I spoke about the 5 waterways: Allahabad, Haldia, Sadia, Dubbi, Kakinada, Puducherry, Kollam, Kottapuram, Talcher, Tamra. So these are all various 5 waterways which I declared, discussed with you. So just understand what is it. And ഇത്രയേ ഉള്ളൂ. അതിന്റെ ഐഡിയ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഇത്രയേ ഉള്ളൂ. നമുക്ക് ഷിപ്പ് പോകാൻ പറ്റുന്ന അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ബോട്ട് പോകാൻ പറ്റുന്ന സ്ട്രെച്ച്, അങ്ങനെ ഒരു സ്ട്രെച്ചിനെ ഐഡന്റിഫൈ ചെയ്യുക ഒരു റിവറിൽ. അതിന് എന്നിട്ട് വാട്ടർ വേ ആയിട്ട് ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്യാം. അപ്പൊ അതിനെ ഐഡന്റിഫൈ ചെയ്യാനും കുറെ കണ്ടീഷൻസ് ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ട്. ഇത്ര മീറ്റർ ഡെപ്ത് വേണം, ഇത്ര മീറ്റർ വിഡ്ത്ത് വേണം, അങ്ങനെ കുറെ കണ്ടീഷൻസ് ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ട്. ഇത്രയും ലോങ് സ്ട്രെച്ച് ആയിരിക്കണം, അങ്ങനെയുള്ളതെല്ലാം വെച്ചിട്ടാണ് അവർ അതിനെ ഐഡന്റിഫൈ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. സോ ലെറ്റ്സ് നോട്ട് വറി അബൌട്ട് ഇറ്റ്. യു ക്യാൻ ജസ്റ്റ് ഗോ ത്രൂ ദാറ്റ് തിങ് വെൻ യു ഗെറ്റ് ആൻ ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റി ടു ഗോ ത്രൂ. Okay, so this is about the water pollution that we were discussing. So just to keep in your mind what we were discussing, I spoke about what is dissolved oxygen. I spoke about what is polluted water, or the definition for polluted water. I spoke about what is biochemical oxygen demand. I also spoke about the pollution in Ganga River, the reasons for the pollution, and we spoke about the various things that contribute to the pollution in Ganga River. Towards the end, we also spoke about the other significance of Ganga River, that it being a very important stretch of water that is available, which can be created as a waterway. And I also spoke to you about some of the waterways. So this is what we discussed in the last 2 slides. Hope all of you are okay with it. Okay. കുറച്ച് കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ പിക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നുണ്ടോ? കുറെ കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ എനിക്ക് വന്ന് ഫാക്ട് ഇഷ്ടം പോലെ വരുന്നുണ്ട്. കുറെയൊക്കെ പിക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നുണ്ടല്ലോ അല്ലേ? All of you are able to pick up a lot of things. Yes. Okay, Anaka, very good. So, if you're picking it up, it's very good. And if you're not able to get it completely, you can note it down and spend some time with your, books or, desktop or laptop, and then you can, pick it up much more. Fine. Next one, we are actually going into the next topic, that is metal poisoning. Now, I thought that already something, and, we initiated yesterday itself some of the discussion. I think it's a part that is being discussed with respect to the mercury poisoning that is at beginning with. So you don't have to really look into the course of the PPT. Just to look into the points which I am saying and try to match it up with the things that we are discussing. So typical symptoms of mercury poisoning. So there is further given in the other side, that is the Minamata issue. This one is not important. Yes. Yeah, so here the typical symptoms of mercury poisoning is irritability, excitability, loss of memory, insomnia, tremor, gingivitis. Gingivitis എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് മോണെ അഫക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഡിസീസ് ആണ്. മോണ നമ്മുടെ ഗംസിനെ അഫക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഡിസീസ് ആണ്. Minamata is the disease caused by mercury poisoning. Minamata disease. Minamata is not the disease. Minamata disease is actually, the Minamata disease that was caused actually by the mercury poisoning. So I think that we'll just connect it with the next slide. Japan in 1953, 46 people died of Minamata. So 46 people actually, how mercury, methyl mercury, it flowed along with the industrial effluence from a company known as the Chiso Corporation, CHISSO. You don't have to think about it also. This company is actually, left out methyl mercury, which was actually a byproduct of their company. I don't know what it was dealing with. So what actually happened was that the methyl mercury is one of the most soluble form of mercury, which went and got dissolved in the water. This is the worst form of the mercury that is soluble and highly toxic. Methyl mercury poisoning causing cat dancing disease for cats in Japan. So if you look at that sentence, then we'll go to the previous slide. The typical symptoms of mercury poisoning are irritability, excitability. Look at the term excitability, loss of memory, insomnia, tremor, and gingivitis. Minamata Bay disease is the disease caused by mercury poisoning. Now, just to keep in your mind the excitability. So what actually happens is that when the cat was poisoned, after it was consuming the fishes which were poisoned by mercury, they started acting very odd. Like they started to be very excited, very jumping kind, irritable ആയിട്ട്. അപ്പം പുറമേ നോക്കുമ്പോൾ cat ഡാൻസ് കളിക്കുന്ന പോലെയാണ്. So അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് അതിന് ഡാൻസിങ് cat disease എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ഒന്ന് ഓർത്ത് വെച്ചാൽ മതി. Which disease is known as the dancing cat disease? Be careful to remember that it is the Minamata Bay disease. The reason is very simple, because the methyl mercury poisoning that causes excitability and irritability. So when the cat shows the irritability or excitability, you'll feel like it is actually jumping around, dancing and all those kind of things, and that is the reason it is known as dancing cat disease. Which is the other disease which is also known as dancing cat disease? Be careful, it's the Minamata Bay disease. Are you okay? All of you good, I think. Now, next one is Ithai disease. This was reported first time in Japan in 1965. It is connected to cadmium contamination in water and rise caused by discharge of effluents from zinc smelter into the river. So zinc smelter, zinc smelter enna allengil zinc inde work nadakkunna oru company ninnum adil ninnum effluents river il poi avade cadmium contamination nadannu angane cause cheyda oru idana ithai meaning ennu പറഞ്ഞാൽ ouch എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. ഞാൻ ബോൺ ഹേർട്ട് ആകുമ്പോഴുള്ള ഒരു പെയിൻ, എല്ലിന് വേദന വരുന്ന ഒരു ടൈപ്പ് ഓഫ് ഡിസീസ് ആണ് ആക്ച്വലി. സോ അതിനാണ് ഇത്തായി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. സോ ഓർത്ത് വെച്ചിരിക്കുക, Minamata Bay disease എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് we connected it to mercury poisoning. Ithai we connected it to the cadmium poisoning. And now the deposit of coal dust makes miners' lungs look black instead of healthy pink, and hence the name is black lung disease. See, there's a little problem with my putting it in the, that's what I could not make it in different slides because my laptop has got some problem. It's actually an Apple iOS, so it's not for telling it, because actually what happened, I don't know how to type much into it, so I could not actually separate into various paragraphs. So don't worry about it. It's a separate paragraph actually coming in the next one. The deposits of coal dust makes miners' lungs look black. So I just don't want you to get confused with it. That's what I'm telling. We are speaking about various items here. We are not speaking about only one. So first paragraph we spoke about the symptoms of Minamata Bay disease. And in second paragraph, in the first part, we spoke about cadmium poisoning and how it causes ithai, ouch diseases. It is actually pain in the bone. Adondana nammal ouch ennu parayunnathu ithai disease. And the third one we are speaking about the black lung disease. It is actually because of the what you call coal getting deposited in the lungs of the people who are working in the coal mines. So coal mine aalkar work cheyyumbol koodal coal mine il work cheythu adu breathe in cheyidondirikkum endana sambhavikkunnu, they breathe in a lot of coal and it gets deposited in their lungs, so their lungs look black instead of pink. Adinu parayna perana black lung disease. It also has got different names such as pneumoconiosis, also known as the coal workers pneumoconiosis, CWP, or anthracosis. So ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു term ചോദിച്ചിട്ട് if they ask you to match the following diseases with the what you call metals caused by it, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ metals ഏത് മെറ്റൽ വഴിയാണ് ഏത് ഡിസീസ് കോസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ചോദിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, don't get confused with it. So mercury that causes Minamata Bay disease, dancing cat disease. Cadmium poisoning we spoke about how it causes ithai disease, and we spoke about the black lung disease, the pneumoconiosis disease or coal workers pneumoconiosis disease, or anthracosis, which is caused by the what you call black coal getting deposited in the lungs and the lungs looking black instead of the pink color. I'll go to the fourth line here. Lead affects bone marrow. It affects formation of hemoglobin. So this is about the lungs. Lead in the question it affects the bone marrow. So the problem is that it directly affects the bone marrow and it affects formation of hemoglobin. Cadmium accumulates in kidney, liver and pancreas and causes cancer of the liver and lungs. Cadmium is a very issue. We spoke about ithai disease. Another issue with the cadmium is that it can accumulate in kidney and liver and pancreas and cause cancer of the liver and lungs. It also has got a high impact. It can affect the kidney, it can affect the liver, it can affect the pancreas, and it can also affect the lungs, and the cancer of the lungs can be caused by cadmium. Long exposure to cadmium causes ithai or ouch of the bone that we spoke now. Exposure to arsenic brings in peripheral vascular disturbances, causes blackfoot disease. Now, arsenic karanam varuna asodhina parayunna perana blackfoot disease. I think the people who are working in the field, I think in the Southeast Asian region, it has actually come very അവിടെയാണ് കൂടുതൽ ഈ ആർസനിക്കിന്റെ ഒക്കെ കണ്ടന്റ് അവർ കണ്ടിട്ടുള്ളത്. സോ അങ്ങനെ കൂടുതൽ മണ്ണിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്ത് കാലിന് മൊത്തം ഇങ്ങനെ കറുത്ത് കാൽപാദമൊക്കെ ഇങ്ങനെ കറുത്ത് പോകും. അതിനാണ് ഈ ബ്ലാക്ക് ഫുട്ട് ഡിസീസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അതുപോലെ നിക്കൽ ഇച്ച് ഈസ് കോസ്ഡ് ബൈ ലാർജ് കൺസംഷൻ ഓഫ് നിക്കൽ ഇൻ ഇൻഡസ്ട്രിയൽ വർക്കേഴ്സ്. അപ്പം നിക്കൽ റിലേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഇൻഡസ്ട്രിയിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്ന ആൾക്കാർ അത് കൂടുതൽ അവർ ബ്രീത്ത് ഇൻ ചെയ്യുകയോ അവരുടെ ബോഡിയിലോട്ട് വരുമ്പോൾ നിക്കൽ ഇച്ച് എന്നുള്ളൊരു ഡിസീസ് കോസ് ചെയ്യാം. So all these things can be, it's a very simple point to be remembering. So just we spoke about the Minamata Bay disease, which is caused by methyl mercury, and then we spoke about cadmium poisoning. We spoke about various aspects of cadmium poisoning. We said the major issues that can be caused could be ithai, which is ouch of the bone, and then we spoke about how it can get accumulated in liver, kidney, lungs, and can cause cancer, and also it gets accumulated in pancreas. And then we spoke about the coal workers pneumoconiosis, which is also known as anthracosis, which is actually people who are getting exposed too much into the black, in coal mines and all. Then how they get exposed to the coal and how they breathe in and how their lungs look black instead of it being a pink color. So that is what we call it as the coal workers pneumoconiosis. And then we spoke about lead, which affects the bone marrow and the formation of hemoglobin. And then we spoke about arsenic, which causes Blackfoot disease. And then we spoke about nickel, where people will be affected. The kind of disease that they get affected is nickel itch. So all these things are some of the diseases. So here നിങ്ങൾക്ക് വരാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ different ടൈപ്പിലായിരിക്കാം. Either they can ask you to match the following diseases with the metals which causes them, again the metal which that causes this kind of disease, or they can ask questions as I told you before. Which is the disease which is also known as the dancing cat disease, or which is the disease that causes ithai, which is the metal that causes ithai disease, or like that they can ask one word questions also. So you can expect any kind of question. There's a very plain question that every time average I have seen in the UPS examination. It is for you people to simply answer is what causes Minamata Bay disease, or what you call as what is the chemical that causes Minamata disease, or methyl mercury is associated with which of the following disease? Mercury poisoning is associated with which of the following disease? So this is how I have seen simple questions, and you can also have a little bigger question like matching the diseases with the chemical or metals, and you can expect questions on similar levels of questions also you can expect. And lead, lead usually you might have seen ladies, okay, after marriage, you find usually these people, the woman using vermilion, like kungumo okay to married ladies. So usually what happens is that I usually tell everyone the same thing. They say that they use a lot of there is a presence of lead in order to give a sharp red color to the kungumam. Kungumathinakke avaru deeper red color kodukkan vendittu there is always this what you call addition of lead into addition undavunna njan kettitullathu. So when lead is added, the thing is that nammalippam sadharana parayumbol for a keeping it for a joke side, usually we say that the woman wear kunkumam adinte oru artham ennu parayunnathu dirgha sumangali alle ettavum kudal karyam bhartavu ജീവിച്ചിരിക്കണം എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. So husband has to live longer. Husband in a long life in venditana sadharana kungumam okke vekkarullu parayunnu. We don't know what is the idea behind it. Then what actually happens is that the woman use kungumam every day when they use it. The lead into advantage in the disadvantage for the human beings is that it can actually be absorbed by the നമ്മുടെ സ്കിന്നിൽ കൂടെ തന്നെ ഉള്ളിലോട്ട് അബ്സോർബ് ചെയ്യാൻ കഴിവുള്ള ഒരു മെറ്റലാണ്. Through skin it can actually pass on to the blood and then it can go into the body. So അങ്ങനെ സ്കിൻ വഴി നമ്മുടെ ബോഡിയിലോട്ട് എത്താൻ കഴിവുള്ള ഒരു കെമിക്കൽ, ഒരു മെറ്റലാണ് ഈ lead എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. So what actually happens is that so much of kunkumam അല്ലെങ്കിൽ using it every day, the adulterated one, I'm not telling about the original one, adulterated one, if you use it for a very long time, what actually happens is that the woman dies very early. So usually people think that the husband is living longer. That is not right. It's actually the woman dying early, not the husband is living longer because the woman is using kumkum. If she has not used that adulterated one, maybe they could have both lived for much longer time. So just keep in your mind, if you have got people, you can advise them how it has to be done, or it's a genuine thing what I'm saying, genuine concern actually, because adulteration is very common nowadays. We hear about lead adulteration in the what you call the chili powder, color kudal kodukkan vendi. And you find a lot of kind of these things. So let's not look only at this aspect, but I'm telling about a lot of poisonous things are actually being used. And we also spoke yesterday about the Maggie, but that was a natural way of lead getting into the wheat. But otherwise also you can see things happening. Okay, so can I think the metal poisoning part is okay for you people? Whatever we discussed, is it okay? Whatever we discussed in the metal poisoning, all good? Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, fine. All of you saying it okay. So keeping that, remember all those things. And I think, if you seriously listen to it, you don't need to actually go into further. So fine, very good. Now let's go into the next part, which is the bioremediation aspect. Now we spoke about the metal poisoning, and one or two of the things you might have heard about how, the mud is having some kind of metals present in them, like arsenic. It may not be an anthropogenic activity. It could be, naturally present. Lead also, you can have the presence of the lead naturally in particular areas. So natural light in chala areas may be having high amount, and some areas may be because of the anthropogenic activities. For example, if you speak about what you call methyl isocyanate, I think it actually happened in Bhopal, isn't it? Or you speak about the Chernobyl. Now, recently is in discussion after the Russian invasion in Ukraine. എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു നിങ്ങൾ further, let me see if I can take some session on a general aspect, but since it is online, I don't know it would be possible for you people, because I would have actually taken you through this issue, and it's very beautiful to study about it. I don't know, somebody would be taking it for you, otherwise we will discuss it when you people hopefully pass the prelims and get into the mains. We will have better discussion on it. Current affairs aspects, I think somebody would be planning for it also. So, that was something I was speaking about, the Chernobyl, in Ukraine, how Russia wants to take it over and what are the reasons. These are much of the discussion that happens in the newspaper. So these areas which may be nuclear polluted areas, or polluted by particular kind of a chemical or a metal or a kind of some kind of a thing in a particular land, that can be treated with a different kind of thing. So that is what we are actually coming to discuss about bioremediation. Bioremediation എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് biological methods of removing the contaminants from the soil. Remedies ആണ്, bioremedies ആണ്. So ഇവിടെ നമ്മൾ എന്താണ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് വെച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ biological methods. So these methods can actually be used to remove the contaminants. Contaminants എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് മണ്ണിനെ കണ്ടാമിനേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന, അല്ല അവിടെയുള്ള കെമിക്കൽസ് ആണോ മെറ്റൽസ് ആണോ എന്താണോ അതിനെ കണ്ടാമിനേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, അതിനെ റിമൂവ് ചെയ്യുന്ന മെത്തഡിന് പറയുന്ന പേരാണ് bioremediation. Large amounts of contaminants are in the soil. See, if you look into the quality of the soil in various parts, like in India, we don't do so much of a scientific farming. And the most recent approach or most recent initiative for scientific farming was creating a soil health card in India. The government had come out with a soil health card. I think they have distributed the first line of cards to almost 4 lakh farmers in India. 4 crore farmers. 4 crore health cards have been prepared. See, usually, നമുക്കറിയാവുന്ന ജനറലായിട്ട് പറയുമ്പോൾ we always speak about the kind of soil, അല്ലെ? നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിലൊക്കെ we speak about clay ആയിരിക്കാം, alluvial soil ആയിരിക്കാം, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ black soil ആയിരിക്കാം. So നമ്മൾ various ആയിട്ടുള്ള നമ്മുടെ soilsനെ കുറിച്ച് നമ്മൾ സാധാരണ പറയാറ്. But people don't discuss, and you know that നിങ്ങളുടെ അച്ഛനമ്മമാർ ആരെങ്കിലും ഒക്കെ ഫാമിംഗ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ആൾക്കാരുണ്ട്, അവർ പറയും ഈ മണ്ണിൽ ഇത് വളരില്ല, ആ മണ്ണിൽ അത് വളരില്ല, അല്ലെ? അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന നിങ്ങൾ കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. So it's all based on the qualities of the soil and what are the kind of nutrients that is present in the soil that supports the growth of a particular kind of a cash crop or a season crop or whatever you call it. And now here what actually happens is that a soil health card, it actually is a card that gives you the complete information about the kind of soil in your land. നമ്മുടെ ലാൻഡിലുള്ള സോയിൽ എങ്ങനത്തെ ടൈപ്പാണ്, അതിന്റെ ഒരു ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ കൊടുക്കുന്നത്. അതെനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നത് ഒരു സയന്റിഫിക് ഫാമിംഗിന്റെ ഒക്കെ ഒരു ഇനീഷ്യേറ്റീവ് ആയിട്ട് നമുക്ക് എടുക്കാൻ പറ്റും. എന്നുവെച്ചാൽ നമുക്ക് കറക്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് നമുക്ക് അറിയാൻ പറ്റും ഈ മണ്ണ് എന്തിനുള്ളതാണ്, ഇതിൽ എന്ത് വളരും, അവിടെ എങ്ങനെ നമ്മൾ കൃഷി ചെയ്യണം. അത്രയും ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ നമുക്കുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ വി ഡോണ്ട് മേക്ക് മിസ്റ്റേക്സ് ഇൻ ഫാമിംഗ്, അല്ലെ? നമുക്ക് കറക്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് നമുക്ക് ഫാം ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. അപ്പം ഈ സോയിൽ ഹെൽത്ത് കാർഡ് വാസ് വൺ ഓഫ് ദ ഫസ്റ്റ് ഇനീഷ്യേറ്റീവ്. സോ കീപ്പിംഗ് ഇറ്റ് aside, what we speak about the bioremediation is how you can remedy the issues due to the contamination that happens in the soil. So treating of contaminated materials by microorganisms. So there are various aspects that we take. We can treat the contaminated materials by microorganisms. How do you send microorganisms? if we can use the microorganisms for the that's a one of the aspect of bioremediation. Here what actually happens is that the microorganisms are introduced in that particular area which is contaminated by a particular kind of contamination, some kind of a contaminant, and how this microorganism can be introduced in that particular area which can actually help you to remove the contaminant and then start the cultivation. It can be happening in situ or ex situ. In situ or ex situ means it is something like in an area you can bring in the microorganisms and you can introduce. And second one is that you can take a bit of the soil outside and then you can bring it into the you can bring it into contact with the microorganism, and later you can move it around in the place which is affected. So these microorganisms have that ability to spread around and destroy the contaminants, so remove the contaminants. There are many methods used under bioremediation, like phytoremediation is there, biostimulation methods are there, rhizofiltration methods are there. These are all various simple methods. For example, in phytoremediation, you use the plants. Plants are used and they are used for removing the chemicals that we'll be discussing in the next line. And biostimulation means you are stimulating that particular area. You are stimulating the particular area, or you are energizing particular area. Adinellam sub-item part we will discuss cheyyunnunde. Rhizofiltration. In rhizofiltration, what happens is that you you give more the roots of the particular plants are treated. You are treating the roots in order to absorb or not to absorb a particular chemical. Our level നമ്മൾ അതിനെ ട്രീറ്റ് ചെയ്യണം. Rhizofiltration എന്ന് പറയും. So these are various methods which are coming under bioremediation. Like for example, if you look at some metals like cadmium and lead, they are very difficult to be removed from the mud. മണ്ണിൽ നിന്ന് നമുക്ക് മാറ്റിയാൽ വളരെ വിഷമം. അവിടെ എന്താണ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്? We treat the mud with fish bone, മീനിന്റെ bone. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ and lead, fish bone and lead. എന്നാൽ leadനെ remove ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി നമ്മൾ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് fish bone ആണ്. അതുപോലെ bone char, എല്ലുപൊടി യൂസ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് നമ്മൾ cadmium, copper, zinc ഇതിനെ റിമൂവ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി നമ്മൾ യൂസ് ചെയ്യും. ഇതൊക്കെ നിങ്ങൾ കേട്ട് എല്ലുപൊടി എന്നൊക്കെ നിങ്ങൾ ഇപ്പൊ കേൾക്കുമ്പോൾ മനസ്സിലായിട്ടുണ്ടാവും എന്തിനാണ് നമ്മൾ അത് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. സോ ഒന്നുകൂടെ ഓർത്ത് വെച്ചിരിക്കുക, നമ്മൾ ഫിഷ് ബോൺ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ എന്താണ് സംഭവിക്കുന്നത് വെച്ചാൽ ലെഡിനെ നമുക്ക് അവിടെ നിന്ന് റിമൂവ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. വി ക്യാൻ റിമൂവ് ദ ലെഡ് ഫ്രം യൂസിങ് ഫിഷ് ബോൺ. അതുപോലെ ബോൺ ചാർ, എല്ലുപൊടി യൂസ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് നമുക്ക് കാഡ്മിയം, കോപ്പർ, സിങ്ക് അങ്ങനെയുള്ള മെറ്റൽസിനെ നമുക്ക് അവിടുന്ന് റിമൂവ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. Natural or transgenic plants can absorb above ground parts and then harvest and remove. That is actually the simple particular definition for phytoremediation. നമ്മൾ നാച്ചുറൽ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ട്രാൻസ്ജനിക് പ്ലാന്റ്സ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ദ ബയോ എഞ്ചിനീയർഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള പ്ലാന്റ്സ് ഉണ്ട്, അതിനെ നമുക്ക് കൊണ്ടുവന്നിട്ട് ഒരു സ്ഥലത്ത് പ്ലാന്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. ആൻഡ് ദീസ് പ്ലാന്റ്സ് ക്യാൻ ആക്ച്വലി അബ്സോർബ് ദീസ് കെമിക്കൽസ് ത്രൂ ദെയർ റൂട്ട്, ആൻഡ് ദെൻ വൺസ് ദ കെമിക്കൽസ് ആർ റിമൂവ്ഡ് ഫ്രം ദിസ് റൂട്ട്, വി ക്യാൻ ടേക്ക് ദ കംപ്ലീറ്റ് പ്ലാന്റ്സ് ആൻഡ് go and destroy somewhere else. This is a particular method, that is what we speak about phytoremediation. അതിന്റെ ഡെഫിനിഷൻ ആണ് ഈ ലാസ്റ്റ് ലൈൻ നിങ്ങൾ കാണുന്നത്. So it's a beautiful slide. I will explain again so that if you have got any doubts we can clear it. So ഒന്നുകൂടെ ഓർത്ത് വെച്ചിരിക്കുക, ബയോറെമഡിയേഷൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് യൂസിങ് ഓഫ് ബയോളജിക്കൽ മെത്തേഡ്സ് ഇൻ ഓർഡർ ടു ട്രീറ്റ് ദ കണ്ടാമിനേറ്റഡ് സോയിൽ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കണ്ടാമിനൻസിനെ ഒക്കെ ട്രീറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് സോയിലിനെ നല്ലതാക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കൾട്ടിവേഷന് സ്യൂട്ടബിൾ ആക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന ആക്ടിവിറ്റിക്ക് പറയുന്ന പേരാണ് ബയോറെമഡിയേഷൻ. So it can be treated by microorganisms, it can be treated inside എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് എവിടെയാണോ മണ്ണുള്ളത്, എവിടെയാണോ കണ്ടാമിനേഷൻ അവിടെ ട്രീറ്റ് ചെയ്യാം. അതല്ല, you can take the soil and then you can introduce this microorganism, bring back and move it around. And third one is that there are various methods are there. Phytoremediation, where the plants are used, like given in the last sentence. You can use the plants, they can grow, they can absorb the chemicals. Such plants which can absorb the chemicals, they can absorb the chemicals, and once they have absorbed it, you can cut it and go and throw it and destroy it. As well as biostimulation, how you stimulate the particular area. Stimulate in the sense by the way of, you will be speaking biosparging, bioventing. Stimulation means you introduce air into it, you give water, you give oxygen into it so that the microorganisms can grow. Angane stimulate cheyan pattum. Or you can work with the roots of the plant which can help in either rejecting these kind of chemicals from the mud. So rhizofiltration can be possible. And for example, they have given that in cases like lead, cadmium, we use different methods. For example, in order to remove lead ne maathan vendi nammal bone char fish bone use ചെയ്യാണ്. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ എല്ലുപൊടി യൂസ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് നമ്മൾ കാഡ്മിയം, കോപ്പർ, സിങ്കിനെ നമ്മൾ മാറ്റുകയാണ്. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഫൈറ്റോറെമഡിയേഷൻ നമ്മൾ താഴെ പറഞ്ഞ അതേ കാര്യം. The plants can be used which are capable of absorbing these kind of chemicals, and then these plants can be harvested and can be destroyed outside the area. So these are some of the methods which are actually used under the bioremediation. And so adinte oru continuation aanu. In bioremediation we spoke about one of the thing as the using microorganisms to degrade contaminants to less contaminated form. And under biostimulation you will find the terms like bioventing. Small wells are dug for air and nutrients for bacteria to grow. So നമ്മൾ ചെറിയ കുഴികൾ ഉണ്ടാക്കിയിട്ട് അതിലോട്ട് എയറും ന്യൂട്രിയൻസ് നമ്മൾ വിടുകയാണ്, so that the bacteria will be growing. അതുപോലെ ബയോസ്പാർജിംഗ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഇൻജെക്ടിങ് എയർ ഇൻ ടു ദ വാട്ടർ ടേബിൾ ടു ഗീവ് ഓക്സിജൻ. സോ നമ്മൾ എയർ വാട്ടർ ടേബിളിലോട്ട് വിടുകയാണ്. വാട്ടർ ടേബിൾ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ ദ ലെവൽ വേർ ദ വാട്ടർ ഈസ് പ്രസന്റ്. നമ്മൾ ഇങ്ങനെ കുഴികളൊക്കെ കുത്തുമ്പോൾ ഏത് ലെവലിലാണോ വെള്ളം കാണുന്നത് ആ ലെവലിലാണ് നമ്മൾ വാട്ടർ ടേബിൾ. നിങ്ങളത് ജിയോഗ്രഫിയിൽ പഠിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. That would have been very well defined in geography. Somebody might have told you well about it. Now bio augmentation is microorganisms are imported to contaminated site. Adine bio augmentation, these are small terms, you don't have to go deep into it, just to basically understand what does it actually mean. Phytoremediation ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ explain ചെയ്ത പോലെ തന്നെ using plants to remove the contaminants. There are various activities like phyto extraction, phyto transfer, phyto stabilization and degradation. So here what actually happens is that you extract, you transfer, you stabilize and degrade them. For example, you plant a plant, the plant will be capable of absorbing the chemicals and it will be it will be extracting the chemicals from the mud. It will transfer the chemicals to the upper part, to the stem, and it will be stabilized there, and then you degrade it. You take the plant, you cut the plant and you go on to destroy it completely. So this is what actually that happens through the phytoremediation. So you can keep these things in the mind. It will be a very good point, because you will have to sometime you may have this kind of questions coming in. Mainly examination, you can actually have that question on a bone char being used for removing cadmium or fish bone that is used for removing lead. Adu base ചെയ്തിട്ടൊക്കെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ വരാൻ പറ്റും. So you can keep these two slides very importantly in your mind. So ഒന്നുകൂടെ ഓർത്ത് വെച്ചിരിക്കുക. Generally when you speak about bioremediation is actually using biological methods for removing the contaminants from the soil. So adinte various aspect aanu, but in this slide you can see that bioremediation is directly defined into using of microorganisms to degrade the contaminants to less contaminated form. So microorganisms are introduced, they will be used for the degrading of these contaminants. And then we spoke about the biostimulation aspect. Various concept of biostimulation aanu, adine stimulate cheyanna various methods aanu. We use bioventing. Adinte artham ennu parayunnathu ചെറിയ ചെറിയ വെൽസ് പൊത്തുകൾ ഉണ്ടാക്കുകയാണ്. അതിൽ നമ്മൾ എയർ ന്യൂട്രിയൻസിനെയൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ ഇൻട്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുകയാണ്. Biosparging is another term. So here what you do is that you introduce air into the water table. And bioaugmentation പറയുന്നത് microorganisms imported contaminated സൈറ്റിലോട്ട് നമ്മൾ import ചെയ്യുന്നതിനാണ് bioaugmentation എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. And phytoremediation എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് we are using natural plants or transgenic plants, and these plants are used, they are planted there, which will be capable of extracting the chemicals from the mud, and then they will be capable of transferring it to the stem, and then they would stabilize it, and later they will be harvested and removed from the site. So that is how you will be able to remove the contaminants from the soil in those regions. So this was about the basic bioremediation concept and solution to soil pollution. Are you all okay? All of you understood it? All of you?
Sir, doubt ചോദിച്ചോട്ടെ.
Please.
സാർ ഇപ്പൊ ബയോറെമഡിയേഷൻ പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ, കണ്ടാമിനൻസിനെ റിമൂവ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടിയുള്ളതാണ്. അപ്പൊ നമ്മളിപ്പോ ഒരു പർട്ടിക്കുലർ പ്ലേസിലോട് നമ്മൾ അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യുവാണെങ്കിൽ അവിടെ 100% കംപ്ലീറ്റ് റിമൂവൽ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്ക് സാധ്യമാവുമോ?
That would be never possible. ഉറപ്പായിട്ടും അത് പോസിബിൾ അല്ല. What you actually do is that you make use of the best of the. See, for example, if I tell you that a particular soil is clean, nowadays even the soil health card നമുക്ക് ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ തന്നെയും it doesn't speak about the contaminants. ഇപ്പൊ നിങ്ങൾ വീട്ടിൽ ഇപ്പൊ നിങ്ങളൊരു കൃഷി ചെയ്യാൻ ഓർത്തു, നമ്മളിപ്പോ നാട്ടിൽ കൃഷി ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ബേസിക് ആയിട്ട് കുറെ ഈ എല്ലുപൊടി എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്നത് നമ്മൾ സാധാരണ ഇടുന്നത് നമ്മൾ കേട്ടിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു കാര്യമാണ്. നിങ്ങളുടെ പപ്പമാരോടോ ഒക്കെ അച്ഛന്മാരോടൊക്കെ ചോദിക്കുവാണെങ്കിൽ അവർ പറയും നമ്മളൊരു സാധനം കൃഷി ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ അവർക്ക് അവിടെ കാഡ്മിയം ഉള്ളത് കൊണ്ടാണോ ലെഡ് ഉള്ളത് കൊണ്ടാണോ എന്നുള്ളതല്ല. ഹിയർ നമ്മൾ സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡ് ആയിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ഇടുകയാണ്. സോ ഹിയർ വാട്ട് വി എക്സ്പെക്ട് ഈസ് ദാറ്റ് ദ കൾട്ടിവേഷൻ വുഡ് ബി ഹാപ്പനിങ് ലൈക്ക് ദാറ്റ്. ഇവിടെ എനിക്ക് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് തരാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ഒരു ബെസ്റ്റ് എക്സാമ്പിൾ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് വി സ്പോക്ക് റീസെന്റ് അബൌട്ട് ദ മാഗി ഇഷ്യൂ. In Maggi issue, what actually happened? There was the presence of lead in the mud, which was absorbed by the wheat plants. And even though when it was treated well, they give a lot of fertilizer, they give all these kind of preventive kind of measures. Still, what happened? It was capable of absorbing amount of lead, which may not be much harmful to the human being, but still there was a little amount. So what we can do is that reduce to the maximum. So that would be the maximum that we can do. So we cannot speak about 100% removal of the contaminants. That may not be possible by the way of what you call bioremediation. But here what is being mentioned is biological methods are used for removing the contaminants. It doesn't mean that 100% removal could be possible. But then what you actually do is that contaminants ഉണ്ടെങ്കിലും ഇല്ലെങ്കിലും നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യുന്ന ബേസിക് ട്രീറ്റ്മെന്റ് ഉണ്ട്. നമ്മൾ എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഇപ്പൊ ഞാൻ പറയാം, നമ്മളിപ്പോ ഈ തടവെടുക്കുന്നത്, കുഴി കുത്തുന്നത്, നിങ്ങൾക്കറിയോ എന്റെ എല്ലാം സ്റ്റോറി എന്താന്ന്? അത് തന്നെയാണ് നമ്മളിപ്പോ ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾ. നമ്മൾ തെങ്ങിന് തടവെടുക്കുന്നു, കുഴി എടുക്കുന്നു, നമ്മൾ എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഓരോ പ്ലാന്റ്സ് നമ്മൾ പ്ലാൻ ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി വെക്കുന്നത്. ഓൾ ദീസ് ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസ് നമ്മളത് എന്താ പറയുന്നത്? സർ, ക്യാൻ യു റിപ്പീറ്റ് ബയോ ഓഗ്മെന്റേഷൻ? ബയോ ഓഗ്മെന്റേഷൻ ഈസ് ഓക്കെ, ഐ ജസ്റ്റ് എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ദിസ് ആൻഡ് കംപ്ലീറ്റ്. സോ ഇതൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ ഈ പറഞ്ഞ ടേംസ് പരമായിട്ട് മാച്ച് വരുമ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മാച്ച് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ലായിരിക്കും. ബട്ട് ദോസ് ആർ ദ സെയിം തിങ്സ് ദാറ്റ് വി ഡു. കുഴി കുത്തുന്നതും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഡീപ്പ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഹോൾസ് ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്നതും. See, you may be, I think recently there was also an update with respect to making holes around them. And that is the reason, you know, ഈ മണ്ണിരകളെയൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് പ്രൊമോട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്? മണ്ണിരകളെ പ്രൊമോട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത് എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ it is capable of loosening the soil, allowing what you call these the nutrients to go deep into the soil. So അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ മണ്ണിരകളെയൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ ഈ പ്രൊമോട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. So all these things are very good for the, മണ്ണിരകളൊക്കെ ഉള്ള മണ്ണ് എത്ര നല്ലതാണെന്ന് നിങ്ങൾക്കറിയാം. How good it is for any kind of activities, agricultural activities. So that is what. So as you asked about it, we may not be able to go for 100% thing, but what we do is that we do all the preventive treatment, and whatever happens will be taken very positive. But there will be a minimum if it is heavily affected soil. But നമ്മൾ ഒരു സ്ഥലത്ത് നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ഒരിക്കലും അവിടെ ലെഡ് ഇഷ്ടം പോലെ ഉണ്ടെന്നുള്ള ഇതിലല്ല ചെയ്യുന്നത്. നമ്മൾ സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡ് ട്രീറ്റ്മെന്റ് ആണ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. സോ ദാറ്റ് ലെഡ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അങ്ങനെ കാഡ്മിയം അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതർ കൈൻഡ് ഓഫ് കെമിക്കൽസ് വിൽ നോട്ട് ബി കമ്മിങ് ഇൻ ടു ദ കൾട്ടിവേറ്റഡ് ഫുഡ് ഐറ്റം. So the minimum things, sure. But now we know that one area is heavily polluted because there was some kind of an industry and they are their byproduct which had all these chemicals. So we know it is heavily, polluted. There what we do is that we use all the methods. We may use plants, the transgenic plants. ഞാൻ ഇന്നലെ നിങ്ങളോട് എക്സാമ്പിൾ പറഞ്ഞു. See, eucalyptus have got a capacity of even absorbing salt, gold from even the deepermost part of the ground. A wheat has got the capability of absorbing this this lead. So there are plants which are made for the purpose. That is what we call as the transgenic plants, the engineered plants, which can be capable of absorbing these chemicals, which can be absorbed and removed. So in a standard condition, you apply these methods and you are happy with the the outcome. And in a very heavily polluted place, you use all the methods and you test the soil again to see whether the soil has been cleared. So that is how you do it. So we cannot say 100% it is clear. Okay
sir.
Okay. And then Nandu, bio augmentation is very simple. It is same, the things are being repeated again. Microorganisms are imported. You bring in microorganisms from outside. Microorganisms are the bacteria or the kind of things that can promote making the affect some kind of contaminants which can be removed by good bacteria. So that is what we call it as a microorganisms import. So these bacteria can actually be introduced so that they will be capable of working against the contaminants and removing them or degrading them or getting them out of it. So that is what we call it as the microorganism being imported, which is known as the bio augmentation. You are augmenting it. You are speeding up the process there. You are increasing. Augment എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ കൂട്ടുക എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. So അവിടെ നമ്മൾ ആ ഒരു ബയോ മൈക്രോഓർഗാനിസം ഇൻട്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് അവിടെയുള്ള ആ ഒരു പ്രോസസ് to clean off that particular area or to remove the contaminants, that process is actually quickened, that is split up. So that is what we call it as a bio augmentation. Very good. Actually, I like this one, but I know that you also may be not very good into going to a lot of questions, but it's excellent that you are asking questions. Okay. So fine, I think that it's only 3 minutes left. We don't want to go into the next topic. This was radioactive pollution and one or two other topics that we'll be completing, and plus we'll be going back to a lot very important topics on biodiversity and the other aspects which are very important on Sunday. Sunday we have got a 6-hour session. I think since it being a daytime, I'll try to make it as good for you people, but still hopefully you are enjoying it and you are getting a lot of points in. Keeping that in mind, let's stop for the day. Thank you very much and good night. We'll meet on Sunday. Sunday we'll have a long session. We'll try to make it as good as possible. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.